Hello, this is Mark Masai, and what's more important, this is the Social Newsroom. I'm not alone.
The usual suspects. I'm Dennis Okari. Welcome to the future.
That's true, and as the name suggests, ladies and gentlemen, the Social Newsroom is all about the social space. So we are live on Twitter, we are live on Facebook, and we are also live on YouTube via the Sema Box account, as I can see people already are tuning in. So just to put things into context, and yes, the digital disruption has really caused a stir in the industry, not just locally, but even internationally. And yours truly have been rendered, jobless in the last 2 weeks, but tuko kazi. And that is why we are here today. Mtu anaweza sema tuko jobless corner, lakini deno tuko kazi. And just to say this, that we are embracing it, and we are embracing the fact that we have been laid off, but we have been on a layover, and now we're about to take off into space, the digital space. Welcome to the future, ladies and gentlemen, and we invite you to engage with us and chat with us on these different platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and we will be taking your feedback as we continue and at the very tail end to better this. This is a conversation starter, and it is just going to be how things are going to be done differently. Now, Dino.
Ngoja kwanza. Hizo vitu zote umetoa kwa kichwa.
Bana tuna auto cue up bana. Things are different. When I say this is the future, yes. So this is where we're at, Dennis.
You're so flawless, like any.
I'll take that as a compliment.
This is like.
I mean, it's been 14 years of this, so it.
Oh, finally you reveal 14 years.
Yes, after some time, it does, settle down and it becomes almost like second nature.
Yeah.
So Dennis, how's it been? It's been 2 weeks, at least for me, that we've been out of the newsroom, but we're back in the news space in a different way. So how's it been?
This is part of our lives. You said 14, I've done 20 years. Wow. Radio, TV, local, international. I've done it all. So the disruption is something we also coming.
Yes.
We saw it coming.
Yeah.
The year we all migrated from analog to digital. These were conversations that were going on around newsroom. So
Right.
tulijua kitu ita happen.
Right.
The only thing ni ile, you never plan itakuwa ni leo, you know. So me, I just jetted back into the country from my vacation, and then ikaenda hivyo. But we've been working, like you said.
Right.
Working on my projects, personal projects. I do forex trading and coaching.
Right.
So I've just been fine-tuning everything so that now next year we're going big with so many other projects, including this one.
Okay, and this is going to be something you can look forward to. This is a conversation starter for today, but into the new year, we're going to have it on a more frequent basis. You might have different faces, and definitely we will be inviting even the ladies who would want to join us. Wayu Amuli, let me just drop the name there. You could join us and be on this show, The Social Space. And there has been overwhelming positive support for us as we have been. The news went out that we're laid off. And let me put this on record. Not putting anyone on blast, not NTV, not NMG. By virtue of me being there, the platform that we shared made us who we are in terms of our brands. So I have to say salute, and I appreciate. Of course, it took what we did with the platform that we had to be where we are and to become the people that we become in the news space. So no bitterness at all, and it's all love. And we wish the best to our colleagues who are still in the newsroom. This is the digital space that is also disrupting your space. So we're wishing you all the best as you transition to that across the board. They know many people are being laid off here in Kenya and even internationally.
And it's going to continue happening.
Yes.
Next year, we're going to see same thing happen. It's not just a Kenyan thing, it's a global thing, it's happening. The disruption is just, not like catching people by surprise, but it's just that the plans that now lead to what needs to be done after the disruption.
Let's be honest. There's been a knee-jerk reaction to the digital transition, and people have been caught flat-footed, and there has been consequences. But we pray for wisdom for those who are in charge to make the right decisions. But Sema Box have already made the decision, and we are here, and we'll be making a lot of noise, informative on that note. And since we've spoken about where we have been, now let's look at the highlights, some of the highlights of our careers in NTV, and you know, there's many stories to tell.
Cinema
And
Sana.
you can even tell us what you remember us for in terms of our highlights, but the stories that actually made it for you in terms of the big stories for this year, share it with us, because it's about talking with you and sharing with you and hearing from you, getting your perspective on what really stood out for you in the news space. You know, something that I kept hearing increasingly is, uko bado uko kwa news? Sikumbuki last time you watched TV. And it's a reality, let's be honest. So people are consuming news differently, and we are asking you, how do you want it brought to you? What do you care about? What matters to you? And another thing, it's too negative. Anyway, let's start, you know, from our past and what we have been remembered for.
Oh yeah. You know, it's very difficult to try to compress, like, for me personally, like 20 years. Yeah. Like every story I've ever done, they're just highlights. There's a backstory to every story. And so to try and think through which one is, in no particular order.
Yes.
Kama ile ni gani kubwa, gani ilikuwa na impact, gani ilikuwa, I mean, there's so many. But you know, because we're, you know, around this corner of festivities and there's so much going on, something that I saw that was interesting that made me remember how I've covered some of these stories. The issue of, you know, terror attacks. So you know that Kasakila.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it leaked.
Yeah,
and then now there's a police boss who has you know, been given some consequences for that.
Yes.
Anything you know, untoward about that leaked message about a security alert, especially at this time, with your experience?
You know, for me, actually studying and getting to do stories around Al-Shabaab really transformed my career in just understanding and knowing. So these are the realities, the harsh realities. So you have these guys on one side, you're on this other side, but you still have to tell the story. I mean, there was a point where it was difficult, huh?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you might end up playing into the propaganda agenda of either the terrorists or even the government. So as a journalist, you're caught smart in between, and you're thinking, so you have to make a judgment call, and a smart one. So some of the highlights, like this case, this is not new. So kila time tukikaribia Christmas, around the festivities, this sort of thing happens.
Right.
So the security on high alert, the deployments to, you know, some of these places where you have a lot of gatherings. So this thing happens, it's a normal thing, only that now this one leaked with specifics. Now, but for me, the story is not whether it leaked or not, because that's another conversation, whether these were supposed to be for the public or within security circles.
Right.
The thing is, if this is what is being planned, what are we doing about it? What are the security agencies doing about it? And through the years, utasikia tu statement, by the way, not too long from now, utasikia these are the security arrangements, ukienda Mombasa Public Beach, even though tumepanga, tumefanya hivi, people enjoy your holidays, drive safe, but just watch out. So these things happen. So it takes me back to what motivates these guys.
Basically, but also to address that, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Of course.
All right. Let's go back to one of the stories that you covered. It was a highlight of your career. Not a good one in the sense, something that you look back with fond memory.
My stories are not good, Mark.
No, ukona
stories zangu zinakuanga tu za
ukona stories
before-
nzuri, ukona stories. Actually, yeah, you've had some hard stories to tell.
Yeah.
Westgate, 2013. When it happened, where were you and how did you respond?
Westgate shopping mall attack. Okay. I mean, it's still fresh in my mind, huh? Because of all the things, the emotions that we all went through as a country and also as journalists. Never got the time to debrief, go through counseling and that sort of thing, because it's the first time we were covering something of that magnitude. So I remember it was on a Saturday, Niko Kejani, I had friends over, so we had a late breakfast, tunapiga story, guys are watching movies. Saturday was my off day. So around saa sita, I get a phone call from my boss, Linus Kaikai. So, and I have to give him credit. I mean, this man really, really supported me in my career.
Yeah.
So many things that I've achieved, I have to honestly credit to Linus and his guidance and leadership. So he calls me. Na unajua Linus vile kwa mdosi akipigia simu, hiyo simu
Kidogo usimame.
So Linus calls, akaniambia, Chief, where are you? Nikajua ukishaulizwa na mdosi where are you, kuna tu kitu inakam, unaitiwa job. So nikasema, boss, niko nyumbani, it's my off day. Akasema, what are you doing? I've just had breakfast. Are you watching the screen? I'm like, no. Haraka anambia, nipatini remote. So I'm switching on. So I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to watch? So obviously it's on TV. So I switched to on TV. Naona Victoria Rubadiri ako live on TV. Then there's a tag, if I can remember, something about an armed robbery at Westgate.
That was the story when it broke.
That's the time I'm seeing this for the first time. Na ni saa sita. So Linus tells me, come to work right away. Mimi nilikuwa na jeans na t-shirt. Nikavaa tu shati. Mimi huyo mpaka Nation Center. Akanikola akaniambia, go straight to Westgate. You'll find your camera person, everything is there. Just go directly there. So as I'm going and making phone calls, I'm talking to cops like, hey, what's going on? Because nikifika kwa ground, I'm expected to do a live link. So nikifika ground, so I'm seeing journalists, there are all these people around. I can hear, gunfire huko ndani, like, hey, so what's going on? Naongea na mauchi hapo. So at first it sounded like it was an armed robbery gone wrong. So these guys couldn't come out, and now it was a hostage situation. So then later, to cut a long story short, I get a phone call from a good friend of mine from the record company. Akaniambia, Dennis, nakucheki kwa TV eh?
Oh, he'd seen you in one of the
now
live.
I've done a link.
Okay.
Akaniambia, nakuona kwa TV? Nikamwambia, yeah, ndio sisi hao. Akaniambia, by the way, tunakuja. Nikamwambia, what? Mnakuja kufanya nini? Si polisi wote wako hapa, kwani what's going on? Akaniambia, wacha, nakushtua baadaye, nakwambia. So I'm still waiting. Kidogo like this, we are seeing the military coming. That's when I knew this thing is bigger than just an armed robbery.
Right.
So later, the guy tells me, kuna watu huko ndani na ni terrorists. So that's the first time.
He's told you directly.
Sorry?
He's told you directly.
He's telling me, kuna terrorists wako hapo ndani. So for the first time you're thinking, terrorists, wanataka nini? Like,
it wasn't
still,
what we know it today.
Yeah, he's still trying to process, like, what exactly is going on. Sa hiyo, hatuna helmets, hatuna bulletproof jackets. So haraka everybody's trying to run through, okay, where do we get one? So finally I got one. Reporters wanaripotua hapo nje, madirisha ziko huko juu. So somebody akuja akasema, nyinyi mtapigwa marisasi hapa. So tukaanza kufukuzwa. So we were pushed back, then they built a perimeter. So now later on now to the night we couldn't now, cover what was going on. So we were just depending on reports.
This is an attack lasted what, 3 days?
4 days.
4 days actually.
So this is what happened. So we covered the whole thing. I mean, the whole country, the whole world was watching what was happening. So I remember my key highlight of Westgate shopping mall attack was this. I come back to the newsroom. I think it was day 3. So I was taking a break. Somebody else sent a report because there was not much going on into the night. So it was only official communication. The then CS Olelenku akipatina a brief. Then after 2 hours, another brief. So there was not much to report.
Yes.
And then we were also gagged from saying anything outside official channels. So niko newsroom, ni around saa 1:30 usiku. I get a phone call. So it's a number I don't know, but either way I just picked. Then on the other end is this guy with a very heavy Somali accent. I knew the voice. This guy used to call me saa 9 asubuhi, saa 8, saa 10 previously. Ananipigia simu, ananiambia tumeua sijui askari wangapi Wajia ama Mandera. So I'm trying to connect the voice. This voice I've heard it before. No, I'm seeing the number, but I don't know.
Okay.
There was nothing like Truecaller, I think, at that time. Siko na Truecaller. So the guy tells me, ati sasa uko kazini? Ambia niko kazini. Unataka aje? Ati kuna kitu tunataka kusema. Tu kama nani, wewe kuja tutakwambia. Because I'd recognize the voice. The guy used to give me Al-Shabaab tips. He will tell me they've carried out an attack in this place, how many people have died.
Ngoja. This is a terrorist, or at least someone who is connected.
Well, Mark, at that point, it is like a source.
Yeah.
I can't say any terrorist. I'm a spokesman. I just knew
but
this
all
guy
the
knew the
information
operations.
he's given you prior has been accurate.
They were accurate. Like Satisa, the guy tells me we've done ABCD. By 5, because I can't call my boss at 3. By 6, this is what has happened. Then, we're waiting to see if there's anybody else who has the same news. We're trying to confirm. Police sources, Wakopia slow. then news in a break like around 8. But me, hii news nilipata saa 9 asubuhi. But you can't say it, you know. So the same guy tells me, tunataka kuongea. Kamuza kama nani? Mko wapi? Ati unaweza kuja hapa nje tu connection center. Ati tu connection center. So me I rush tell my boss, nipigiwa simu fulani hapa. Kuna jamaa anataka tukutane. Anashuku ni jamaa anajua what is going on at Westgate. So I was trying to connect. So akaniambia, Dennis, do you think you'll be safe? Mimi nani? Roju. Nikamwambia, tuende. Wataniua kwa nini? See, they will want to use me as a source of passing the information. But then, I had to take safety precautions. So, at that time, we spoke to the head of security. Akanipatia watu wawili to follow me. Kwa mbali tu, just to watch. These guys call again. So, akaniambia usikate simu, ukitoka takwambia mali tuko. Mimi nimepanda lift niko na simu. Panda lift nimefika mpaka ground floor. Tukitoka hapo Nation Center, kwa bado na simu. So I'm trying, sasa ni giza. Watu wengi wanapita hapo kwa street, Kimathi Street. So, nimeshika simu naambia haya niko Nation Center. The guy says tunakuona. Vuka barabara. Hey, chief, I felt like ushaona movie, unafuatwa na sniper kwa rooftop. So I felt hii kitu ni kama movie, like what if this guy decides to just shoot me to make a statement? You know, you kill a journalist, it's big news, eh?
Yes.
You know?
Investigative journalist.
But at that point, you're like, any damu inachemka, adrenaline rush, you're not thinking, you're like, let me go meet this guy.
Yeah.
So I cross the road. Then the guy says, ebu angalia left. I turn to my left. Unaona ile mti ya pili kwa karibu na entrance ya CFC? Kuja mpaka hapo.
Bungoja, kushikilia hapo. Joyce Kimani anasema, this is amazing. I love that you are speaking sense. I honestly cannot remember the last time I listened to a journalist for more than 5 minutes. Na niko hapa tuned in.
Yeah, there's more.
Asante Joyce. That was just like a commercial break.
Yeah.
Because then you are meeting, do you know that you're actually meeting a terrorist? Or unajua tu ni
No, you know, in my mind, I know I'm speaking to a source. I suspect he's a member of Al-Shabaab or somebody who knows the activities. You know, at that point, hakuna time ya kuuliza. You were just following news leads.
Yeah.
So, I go to this second tree, eh? So I find there are two guys there. Jamaa moja mfupi, moja mrefu. Jicho nyanya.
Like
sura
bloody,
mbaya.
like bloody eye.
Yeah, like sura mbaya. Ni kama ametoka kupigwa. So, nikakutana nao. Jamaa, sitasema majina, akajiintroduce. Akasema, haya, mnataka kuongea kuna nini? Tunaweza na mali tukae chini tuongee. Hey, me, I'm like, these guys are setting me up. Yeah. Nikasema, tuongee hapa kwa street. In the event something happens, kuna watu wengi hapa. The guy insists, tukae chini tuongee. So we walk, we're not talking. 3 of us were walking. So I'm looking behind, kuonaka kuna security wananifuata, I can't see. We get to Caldis. There's a restaurant we can to Caldis hapo.
Right.
So we go to Caldis, then wait anakuja, this guy is having a cold crest, tu anakunywa coke, mimi kaitisha coffee. So nikaanza So the guy was talking a lot. This other guy, mwenye jicho nyanya haongei, he has this stern look, eh? He's sizing me up. This other guy is the one who's talking. So this other guy says, tumekasirika sana na hizi vitu hii serikali inasema imefanya ati imetuua wapi?
The then minister saying that they killed all the terrorists,
all the mattresses, all those things, yeah. So the guy says ati wanasema wametuua na sisi ndio hao tuko hapa. Nikasema sisi nini Al-Shabaab? Nikasema kwani tunaongea kuhusu nini? Nikasema okay.
So they're basically telling you we are the guys who attacked.
So the guy went further. So me, I'm thinking, come on, at Al-Shabaab. Westgate inaendelea, uko siege inaendelea, you guys at your meeting at Al-Shabaab. I was like, no, this is just something else. So the guy says, ati, wacha tukwambie. So they told me what they want. They wanted me to give them a camera. They do a statement with the Al-Shabaab flag behind them.
Right.
So you know the way they normally do.
Right.
So in my head I'm thinking, tatoa wapi camera saizi. Haraka, huyu msee akaniambia, now, to cut long story short, ati, jamaa wanasema walituua. Huyu jamaa hapa, alimwita jina, akisema huyu jamaa alikuwa hapo nje.
The guy with the bloody eye.
Yes. Nikamza alikuwa nje wapi? Hapo nje ya Westgate. Hata zile jembe tumetumia, si tuko nazo tutakuonyesha.
Jembe?
I'm like, jembe ni nini? The guy says, jembe ni AK-47.
So they say they have the weapons they used to
and they wanted to show me.
So this bloody guy is apparently the one who was at the entrance.
Yes. So this guy, because he is not talking, this other guy says, huyu jamaa ndiye alipiga marisasi hapo nje. So it was to lead people inside the mall and get them trapped. So this was like the first group. Shoot, and then guys will obviously run to safety. Now where's safety? Inside the mall.
Right.
The second group takes over. These guys disappear. So this guy happened to have disappeared. And he wanted to show me the weapons and everything and talk whatever it is they wanted to say.
And
against the
disapprove
government.
whatever the government had said that they had victory over.
Exactly.
So what did you do with this information?
No, so I told him, I will try organize. I don't have a camera I can give you now. I don't trust you. So I'm just thinking in my head, I don't know whether you'll disappear with the camera anyway, so I'll try get one of my secret cameras in my apartment and I'm shoot. So tukitoka, huyu jamaa akakuja akaniambia, unajua huyu jamaa amesema hakuwa naamini kama tunaweza kuamini na hii story, tutaweza kupatia story. So he was sizing me up to see if
he didn't trust you at first, yeah.
Yeah. So because we can trust you, tutafutia your camera, we want to release this statement tonight. So I told the guy, how can I reach you on this same number?
Yes.
Akasema no, tutakupigia. Tukupatia dakika ngapi? Kaambia no, call me in an hour. So we go back to the office, nikamwambia Mdosi, this is what has happened. Mdosi akasema hiyo story wacha. So I also felt like, okay, so how do we air these statements? Remember, we might end up playing into the propaganda war.
Right.
So we made a decision. We're not going to air this thing. We're not going to do this. These guys were going back to Majengo. Next day, kwa headlines, police wamevamia Majengo.
And you never heard from the guy again?
I never heard from this guy ever again. And I suspect these guys were killed.
Hebu tuone vile watu wanasema kwenye socials hapa. And Dennis Nyakundi, he says, nice listening to you guys. And Winnie Lubembe, shout out to you. Watching, good job guys. And Brian Sila anasema, can Okari do it in English please? So hebu tuwakumbushe kwamba tunaweza kizungu. Ngina Kirori, Mark with the poetic justice, Deno with the suave delivery. Well done. Thank you guys for this and keep them coming. And yes, James Kalume, ulikuwa umeuliza 15 minutes ago if it's began and Munyiri told you yes. And Ngare Ngea, you say no Twitter spaces. Well, we'll work on that. We're live on Twitter, but we will work on Twitter spaces with time. And this, of course, is a growing thing and we're learning as we continue. Let's sanitize the situation because I see you have a book there that you are quoted in.
Oh yeah.
And we will talk about it in a bit. Wacha kwanza tusistue watu. Let's talk about one of my highlights. And this was in 2015 when Pope Francis made a visit to Kenya. So I was somewhere on Sunday, just having time with family, and my boss then, EJ Emmanuel Juma, salute to him, appreciate his guidance throughout the time in my career, calls and says, hey, Mark, you know, Marco, how are you? Kambia niko salama, niko na familia. So you've been selected to go to with the Pope. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And then I actually told him, can we have someone else do it? It's like, no, you've been selected. And you know, there's ways that our boss, there's a way that our, see dhambi, lakini I'm not worthy. But God decided ni mimi. Kijana ambaye alizaliwa kwa
newsroom yote, Mark, why you?
Why me?
Yeah.
Why me, Lord? It is because I am a chosen one. Anyway, I got the opportunity alongside Mumo of Capital. Then now he's working in the judiciary, and Namunane, who was at the Daily Nation, and we were the three Kenyans who joined the Vatican, approved personnel, media personnel. We called them VAMP. And we got to be on the same plane. We went to Italy first, then came with him.
It was your first time in Italy?
Oh yes, bro.
So
kuna places, Italy, let's be honest, places I wouldn't have gone
Vatican.
Without this. Yes, Vatican. Didn't know what to do with myself, freezing my, my dark side off. But we managed. And it was just an amazing experience because
So did you meet the Pope there?
Well, we didn't meet him there. We met him on the plane on our way back, on our way to Nairobi, because we had to go to Italy because it's a very controlled environment. This is the Pope, people. Yeah. And it's a very controlled environment. There's selected journalists from around the world, and we got to be amongst them. So we went there, came back in the Alitalia plane, which is basically like the usual, like a KQ of there. He's a modest person, so he wouldn't be seen like in a very
So he flies commercial?
Yeah, it's an Alitalia. I mean, I didn't go to his, where he was seated, but...
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. So, did you guys, did you see the Pope?
Well, we saw the movement into the plane, then because we have to check in first. You can imagine the security around him. He's one of the most guarded people in this world. So we were in one coach, if I could call it that, in the plane. Uko nyuma, uko Kayole. I mean, it was comfortable.
Karibu na choo huko.
Yeah, everyone with their tripods and, you know, people with their laptops writing, because you can send stories from up there. Kuna
So
Wi-Fi
wait, so
huko
it's
ndege.
you, so you're the Kenyan
Myself,
journalists,
Mumo
there are
from
also other
Capital.
international journalists?
Yes, other international journalists.
Okay.
We weren't the only ones, from all over the world.
Okay.
And so we came to Nairobi. We did the rounds within Nairobi, and I mean, I got to stay at the Kempinski for the first time.
No,
Thank God
wait,
to
tunaenda
that.
haraka sana. So,
Yes.
mmeingia ndege.
Yeah.
So you guys are come to Nairobi. So did you meet the Pope inside?
In
There's
the
a photo
plane,
you
on
took.
our way back. Yes,
There's
yes.
a photo I've seen.
The
It's
photo
actually
where
on your Twitter.
Niko Nyanya, if you actually look at my Twitter, it's the one that is like the background of, it's not the
cover
profile
is you,
picture. Yes, yes,
and
yes.
then there's the Pope. You can
I'd
see
just
how-
woken up because I didn't know he was going to come and say hi, or at least what moment he would. And so I was woken up by, I think, Mumo, who said, hey, he's here to say hi. And so he's saying he was gracious enough to shake each and every one of us hands and just meet you. Hi, my name is Mark Masai from NTV. I was still dozy. And just meeting this man who
Did he
is...
speak anything to you?
Of course, he doesn't speak in English.
Yeah.
There's a translator there, and he's just nodding his head, you know, Kenya, and then he acknowledges, yes, yes. And yeah, of course, I was just in awe.
So how was it? It's you, this is the Pope shaking
The
your
Pope
hand.
is right here, yeah. I mean, I probably wanted to atone all my sins and, you know,
Kuhusu
have
kwa mwenye dhambi.
sote
Yeah.
wenye dhambi. But actually, what you do as well, you give him, if you've bought some, you know, things for gifts, such as a rosary for people coming back home, you can give it to him. He prays over them.
Oh.
And then you bring it back home, gift it to whoever. And I had some people who had asked for it. So we did our round here in Kenya, in Uganda, and then we went to Central African Republic. Let's be honest, guys, when you get to travel in our line of work, you get to see the contrast. Watu dhani Kenya tuko nyuma. We have our, you know, problems here in Kenya, but tuko mbele.
Especially if you travel to other African countries.
Yes.
And you compare there's a colleague who was telling me, I will not mention the country, Alienda, the tallest building is like 3 floors. You see the way you go to a restaurant or to any place you can access like internet, buy bundles. Uko hajafika huko. Uko wanatumia bado sijui 2G.
It is something else. Like at Central African Republic from the airport, just after the gate, the tarmac ends. And now you make your way into the capital, the city at least. And it was, at that time, there was still some upheaval and there was a lot of security around us, like you're being, you know, escorted by the UN security personnel. Even like when we made our way from the airport to the hotel where we were staying, it was, you know, security. I've never made it that fast from
So
the
you
airport.
guys look on a chase cars?
Yes, 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 yes. And I could see people waving. Of course, they were waving at the Pope. But me niko hapo.
Pope ana wave na wewe pia una wave.
Mimi ni nani? Mama, I made it. Mama, I made it. So that was a highlight. Of course, you're covering the leader of the church, the Catholic Church, indeed. And that was a humbling experience in being chosen amongst many to be amongst other international journalists. So that was a highlight. Now that we've sanitized it, sijui kama unaweza turudisha bado kwa the other experiences that you've had. And let me see if we have some comments here, first of all, before we switch it, because I want us to go to the other incident that you covered, and that is the Garissa University attack. That was in 2015?
2015, yes.
2015, yes. And Kennedy Kimani says, great conversation, loving it. And Joyce Kimani says, Sila, because Sila Nula alisema start speaking in English. Sila says, Sila, is it probably because of sign language that you prefer it in English? And Mwangala Emmanuel, watching guys and all the best love from Malindi and Vittorio. Ay, Okari bwana, huachi Masai amalize sentence, just interrupting throughout. Let me speak, man. And Melissa just sends love hearts and appreciating what we're doing. And yes, keep the comments coming. This I'm reading from our YouTube live channel here, and we'll continue looking at that. But yes, this is a Garissa attack. Where were you? How soon did you go after the attack?
You know, for me, out of all the stories I've done in my career, that for me is like at the very top for a number of reasons, which I'll share later. So, I'm asleep. Somebody calls me. Again, I used to get those very
What time?
late phone calls. This is like 4 in the morning. 4 going to 5. So I'm so sleepy. So I pick my phone. I'm talking. So I'm hearing this guy. So this guy is telling. This guy is talking to me so fast, and I can hear a lot of noise.
What type of noise?
Sorry?
What type
No,
of
like
noise?
people screaming, people shouting, people talking. It's like somebody like malikuna, crowd. So then tukiongea nikasikia gunshots. So nikamuuliza, boss, umesema tuko wapi? Ati niko Garissa. Ati nimepatiwa namba yako sijui na nani. So at that time I'm sleepy. So I'm like, nini naendelea? Ati hao watu wamekuja tusaidie, media kuja tusaidie. Nikasema watu gani wamekuja? Al-Shabaab. So I'm thinking in my head, Al-Shabaab, Garissa, where? So it was the first time I was hearing about that, about Garissa University College attack. I'd never heard of it before. So in my mind I'm thinking, so the guy hangs up. I try calling back the number. I'm thinking, was this guy shot or what could have happened? So at that time, I'm like, this sounds so serious. I send a text to my boss at that time. I'm like, boss, I just received your text and there's an attack going on in Garissa. So of course I know Garissa, Somalia border. So I was like, okay, so these guys are attacking a university. You remember, bado tuko na hangovers za Westgate.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking these guys have decided to attack a school. Okay. So I text my boss. As I'm texting, the guy calls again. He's sounding so desperate. At that point, I told my boss, I'm waking up right now. Can we organize? I go straight to Wilson. I fly to Garissa. This is a big story. So this is around 5:30. Good thing is my boss was so fast. So Emmanuel Juma did something very, very fast. We flew to Garissa. So we land at the airstrip. So quickly we're driven to Ulizia. So we found our correspondent there. So our correspondent, of course, was showing us the direction. We drive so fast to the scene. So I get to the gate. And as I get to the gate, the military is there, the police is this confusion.
Right.
And then, ndio sasa mwangazi inaanza kutokea. Unaona? But I'm hearing screams, gunshots, screams.
You're at the gate.
I'm at the gate. So I can see through into the university. So I see, Mark, I saw something I'll never forget. So I'm seeing people running, and I'm seeing people running naked. Like unaona kwa mbali. Unaona wasichana kimbia, unaona kimbia, wengine wako na shorts, boxers, vests, people just running. So I told Isinta, my cameraman, start recording this thing. Let's record whatever is going on here. So there's a soldier who saw us starting to record. So we were the first to get to the scene. Then CCTV were also there. So they're patching up the cables and
now
connecting
CGTN.
the satellite dish and all that.
Yes.
So we are alone. So we start filming. So this soldier was like, tokeni hapa. So tukafukuzwa. So we went to some shops. Now we can't see the view of the school, but you can still hear gunshots. We stayed there for 3 days. So apparently what was happening, we all know the story of what happened in the university, but one of the saddest thing is one of the students who managed to escape. I managed to speak to him through an official from the Kenya Red Cross.
Some days later.
No.
Within that period.
That's day one.
Okay.
So the guy says, and this is something that was confirmed by security officers who were there. So what Al-Shabaab were doing, so they had a sniper or rooftop. Any student on a HEPA, risasi. Any student on a HEPA, they are shot. So this thing was so coordinated. And the structure of where these guys were sleeping, there's one exit. So when these guys came in, basically you're cornered. You have no escape. So what happened? The military came. So these guys knew, after a while, they will overpower us. They wanted it to be another siege. So they wanted this thing to move to day 2, day 3, and whatnot. So what they were doing to save on bullets, so this young man was saying, they were calling guys from like the dorms, come out. Then you lie on top of each other.
They stack you up.
Yes. So as you lie on top of each other, this guy will put his gun on the head, shoots. Bullet goes through, first head, second. Malita kwamia, then to save on bullets. That's what these guys are doing. It was so bad. I saw the bodies, and those images affected me for many months.
Because you and Isinta, and shout out to Isinta, one of the best cameramen locally.
Oh, yes.
You managed to gain access into the precincts and capture this, or was this because you've even you actually were at the morgue when these bodies were being brought from the school.
You say Garissa is so hot.
Yes.
So you can imagine you have these students who are shot like 4 or 5 in the morning. The bodies are lying there in Paka like late in the evening. By the time they're being transported to Nairobi, I saw the bodies. Some of them didn't even have faces. Like the exit wound, the whole face is blown off. And the reality that dawned on me was when we went to Chiromo. So this is now after whatever's happened there. And I meet how I ended up doing Children of a Lesser God. So I'm seeing, so you know, as a journalist, you're moving around with your journalistic instincts. The things that, the skills that you can't be taught in class. So they normally say, you know, listen to what is not being said in what is being said. And also, when you're looking at an image, don't just look at it on, you know, face value.
Yes.
You'll always observe emotions, you can see confusion. Go talk to somebody. So I went and spoke to this mama. So I'm asking, mama, habari yako mzuri? Umekuja kutafuta mtoto wako? So she's explaining. Then she breaks down. So I'm like,
she's
oh my
here to
God.
look for a child.
Yeah, she's still looking for the child. So I can see the husband on phone. It's the first time they're coming to Nairobi. Their daughter was killed in that attack. They had put all their hopes in this one girl to put her through education, sacrificed everybody else, and the girl is dead. Day 3, they can't identify the body because all the bodies, they're like, okay, let's do it all over again. You can imagine the mental torture. They go through the bodies at warning. So this mother then remembers there's a toe in a fanana baba yake, whatnot. Then they start again. Finally, they got the body, they saw the body. It's the first time in Nairobi they have nothing. They don't even have fare to go back.
When you do such a story, sorry to interfere and interrupt. When you do such a story, does it make you want to quit journalism?
No.
You continue because that was 2015.
Actually, it makes you feel you're serving a greater purpose. You want to tell the story. It doesn't make you feel like you want to quit. You'll feel sorry, you'll feel sad, it affects you. But you're thinking, this is beyond me. This is not about me. It's about these people. They don't have a voice. Let me give them a voice through the platform that I'm privileged to have.
But it's one of the stories that broke you.
When I was scripting, I remember I was in my room scripting. So I'm doing the script. I'm at the last paragraph. And if you watch the story, you will see I'm running the faces of these students, the ones I could manage to get their pictures. So I remembered the story of one young man who told the other students, "Uwe shall baba kiingia, wacha twende tumrukie." We grabbed the gun because they were cornered. They couldn't do anything. So this guy jumped. The rest.
And the moment of reckoning.
Yes, jumped. So he thought the rest will come. Then the others backed out. Jikuta ko peke yake. They decapitated the guy. So I saw his picture. So as I'm editing my script, all of a sudden I break down. Man, I cried. Unajua ile uchungu that comes from here. Like you can't stop. I can't stop crying, but I really broke down.
To the extent the story that you did, Children of a Lesser God, made it to even a book.
That's there are books that have been written up on the same Children of a Lesser God, and the reason why we titled it Children of a Lesser God, thanks to Linus as well, who helped in coming up with the title, is all these students were students of peasants, farmers, families that are struggling. Hakukuwa na mtoto wa minister hiyo shule. So later on, people started saying the reaction would have been different. If we had a politician's child in that university, the reaction would have been different. But because these kids were from poor families, poor backgrounds, the reason the delayed response. And the attack was known it was going to happen.
Right.
It was not that this was news. Later on, because I don't want to get into the details, it was known. There was an alert. There were intelligence reports that this thing was going to happen. And the guys who were in charge then didn't do anything.
Right, Children of a Lesser God.
Yeah.
And I want to get into the conversation around COVID millionaires, which is one of the most recent stories that you did before I now. But before that, I'll share another highlight of my career, because the social space right now is so vibrant, so active. People talking, and just like to read some of the contributions here. Dennis Fares, you say, nice move. Yes, This is, let me just refresh this feed from our YouTube and those who are joining in live. Thank you for that. Hey, vipara vyetu vya shine on hapa because I can see my...
Tutakuza nywele, tutakuza. We'll go for transplants.
So Vincent Correr says, a very interesting conversation. I'm happy this is happening. Good job, good people. Nimetokelezea job mbio nione the launch. I'm happy for you guys. This is indeed the future. Charles Getonga, Nicholas Lebor, the future of journalism is here. Big respect. Nzavi Bernard says, please give us a promise that this is here to stay. What a pleasure to hear from such brilliant minds. You are indeed such a true gem. Honestly, already addicted to this. And Jackson Ambole, the digital space is shaping the future of journalism. That is very true, which is what I wanted to ask. Right now, everyone will get a photo or video, something from WhatsApp and spread it because nothing stops them. Of course, there's a threat about if you post something like that and that would spread the propaganda of terrorists, they can get to you, but they don't always get to everybody. But there's what you're limited in terms of sharing and reporting. How's that made it more a challenge for us as journalists in this digital space?
So I will just talk about just briefly. So from where we're coming from, of course, you know, there are rules and, you know, guidelines that if you're working on a story, you have to abide by A, B, C, D. So all these things are laid down. So we find ourselves in a situation where anybody can report news.
Yes.
It can be an eyewitness who's seen a road accident happen. They're taking a picture. They're describing the scene. That's news, all right? So we've had those. Situations where anybody now, because you have access to your phone, anybody can report news, all right? So now, finding ourselves in this space, there's sort of this latitude and, you know, freedom to do more. We are more or less like in charge. So it's telling the stories of Ule Mwananchi, that ordinary person who's doing extraordinary things. It's not about us. It's not about you or me. And it's not about an institution. It's about creating a platform like what we have now to let people tell their stories. So it's allowing them to just tell their stories, because in those stories you'll find these people are heroes. They're doing big things. They're making a difference and a change out there. So I think for me, the most exciting thing is there's that freedom to just choose, okay, this is what we want to do. We feel this is what a story, and like where we're coming from, and this is common knowledge. Sometimes you find they're also, you know, apart from, you know, being restricted on what you can share legally, there's also the issue of what influences certain decisions. So there are certain people, for example, you may not end up touching. You can't talk about this person because they advertise with us. You can't talk about this other person because we lose money. Those are ongoing conversations. I mean, it's the thin line between commercial interests and editorial policies.
And it's thinning, like, you know, commercial interests thinning the space for editorial, you know, place and space that should be enjoyed in newsrooms. And it's an ongoing fight. Let me talk about something that is not always on social media, although our current president, the deputy president, the president William Ruto, who I interviewed as a deputy president, he has embraced the digital space, or at least that's what we feel, because there's a lot that they, you know, share live on Facebook and other platforms. And in fact, he was featured as one of the most popular active leaders on social media just the other day in Africa. And so he gave an interview in 2018, July. I'd actually just come from leave, I believe, and I was told, Mark, you're it. It's like, you can send, it's okay. Why? You're it. And
this was your first time?
Yeah, it was my first time to interview then Deputy President William Ruto. And I said, okay, I'll do it. It's a job that needs to be done. Let's do it.
But were you told what the interview was all about?
It's, in fact, what his handlers said, no holds barred.
Wow.
Ask any question under the sun. Ask anything. Of course, whether or not he answered is another thing, but we were told, ask any question that you have. And granted, it's not because he's a president, a very smart, sober-minded person.
Did you feel intimidated?
Yes,
of course. This is the first time?
Of course.
You felt it,
Of course. You can tell the people who are watching, people are telling you, go for it, get him. You know, there's that thing. Yes, pressure, you know, get him. Muulize mfinye.
Everybody's watching.
Yeah, because there's that aspect and culture of, you know, whenever you get that kind of interview, it's for you to get them. there's holding people to account, holding power to account, but there's also a balance. Anyway, I'm not saying I did the interview 100% perfect to various people's standards. I could have done it better. In fact, this is an invitation to the President, William Ruto, that he could grant us an interview on the digital space, which he promised to embrace. Tutakualika hapa, we might change the seats if you're not comfortable with this, Mr. President. But we would want to have a conversation with you. Hapa ndo ma youth wako, hapa ndo ma hustlers wako. This is where your audience is. Tuongee hapa. Karibu. Hata nitatoka kwa kiti nitakaa hapa.
No, atakuwa na kiti yake.
Yes. Yes. Anyway, so it was very intimidating. And I remember one thing aliniambia. We were talking about the SGR and whether he's gotten the government has gotten returns on that. And he was, my friend, SGRC matatu. So I have to keep a straight face.
So you want to laugh?
I'm thinking, I need to laugh. That was a good one, sir. That was a good one. Yeah. But also in my head, I'm thinking, oh, najua pia mimi nilikuwa kange. I'm a kanga for a short stint after high school. So in my head, I'm like, of course, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not like the economics are different. Yeah. But, you know, again, you're talking to the deputy president. And I think I would say he did get a bit worked up when I pressed on, especially on matters corruption. And especially at that time, there was a lot of push to get the public servants to declare their wealth. And much as we were told, ask any question under the sun, he found a way to weave out of that one. And, you know, there's great interviewers in this field, in this space of journalism, and there's even more now in the digital space.
Speaking of interviewing, the then Deputy President William Ruto, President now, because every time any journalist interviews Ruto, I mean, everybody's watching.
I was called my friend, I think, 50 times.
Yeah. Do you think it's a tactic to get you to like soften a bit?
Yeah, he does that. But, you know, it's first of all, he's collecting his thoughts, my friend.
He's buying time to think through his answer.
Yes, and then he could try to, you know, throw it off, the attention off him by complimenting your shoes. No, by the way, kuna viatu poa, you know. No, seriously, I'm not deflecting the attention. Those are nice shoes. Thank you. He did that to our former boss, Linus. Kai
and he moved on so swiftly.
He moved on swiftly. So he does that. And of course, he has a great team that supports him and that trains him and prepares him for the interviews. Akina Itumbi, and even Itumbi, tutaongea na yeye pia karibu kwa hii kiti, and the rest, and Hussein, you know, and hats off to Hussein, one of the greatest interviewers in the land in Kenya, and a lot of respect for his work. Hey, lakini ulitucheza switch up, I didn't see that coming, but ako kazi. And I'm wishing him all the best. Hata si tuko kazi. Anyway, yes, it's intimidating. And the thing is, you are seen to be working or holding brief for the other side if you press hard on a particular leader. And that's
where I find a problem, because if it's not your second name, your tribe, or your community is, oh, huyu ni ODM, huyu ni UDA. So striking that balance. So the question I wanted to ask before I forget, as you're interviewing Ruto, and you know, there's a way he answers the questions. You try to ask again and again, and you can see his face changing. At that moment when you're doing the interview, do you feel like, I need to back out now? Do you feel intimidated by his presence when you keep pushing the question and you can see he's getting uncomfortable?
There's a part of that. But if you had gone with the brief in terms of, we need to cover these areas, and you know what you need to bring out of that interview, you push on with respect, but you push on. And nakumbuka, when we finished the interview, one of the security men came to me and told me, hey, my friend, hauogopi Ruto? Unauliza unamfinya sana bwana. So actually I switched off my phone because there was so many texts coming in and what have you. And I believe the next day, because I'd switched it off, the next day is when I get some SMSs of concern. Are you okay? You know, people have been
trying to reach. What are people thinking?
Watu walidhani nimefungiwa mahali hapo.
Like that interview didn't end well. Like this guy, what could have happened to him?
Yeah, like, but I mean, I appreciate the concern, but nothing had happened. But people, there's so much that can go around that, hey guys, please call Mark, his phone is off.
Is he okay?
After this, is he okay? Yeah?
But after the interview, did you have like a chat with him?
Not really. He said bye, and and retreated to
Alikuwa amejamu.
sijui jajamu usiseme hivyo tunamleta hapa kwa the social newsroom usiseme hivyo my friend karibu Mr. President.
But again, one
Yes.
of the highlights, you going to Mombasa interviewing President Uhuru Kenyatta.
My friend.
And the question you asked the president, the answer he gave, and your response, and that thing went viral.
Yeah, let's
So,
go.
again-
Speaking of viral, let's kwanza to revisit. Let's look at what people are saying. SG, I'll answer your question. I'm not deflecting.
Because I
Come
want
on,
to know,
yes,
you
SJ
interviewed Ruto,
investigate.
now it's
He
Kenyatta,
says,
why?
"What a show! This is a great. Seniors, you are an inspiration to me, and I learned a lot from you. The story being shared by Dennis is true. I hope I will one day speak of these stories too. And yes, this is the space that we open to you to tell that story, share your experiences as well. And yes, this is Rashdi Oidu. Hey, Rashdi. Wacha tu tuendelee jina ya kwanza. Good
I think
job,
I know the
Dennis
guy.
and Mark. Rashdi.
I think I know Rashdi is in Kisumu.
Oh yes.
Rashdi alikuwa mmoja wetu.
Yes, it's in the paper. Children of a lesser God makes a lot of sense. The speed of reaction by the authorities to tragedies depends on the victims. And yes, Mercy Gaki, you say keep going. And John Dimpos, you say a good beginning. Yes, this SJ investigator is actually Steve Juma. And yes, Miss Eunice, you say kabisa, this is where my youths wako nice. As I was inviting Mr. President, again, this is an appeal to the President to grant us an interview. We will give you the space wherever you want to sit. We will give you the space. Wamesema, even the viewers wamesema hapa on the spaces.
So India is watching.
India
India is watching.
Very nice.
So I've got people there who are also following on Twitter. They're watching.
International.
There's someone here, Fiona, majina za siku hizi. Locked at Mark Masai, loving this, quite engaging.
Yes.
Tell Dennis no need to cut the story short. Here for the whole story. Tumezoea, like,
yes, take a commercial break,
take a
or
commercial.
time
so
out.
edited.
Yeah,
So we're still getting used to.
Yeah, we're
to
still
this
getting used to the space. Yeah. Tunajitawala hapa.
Yeah. So the interview with the president.
Yeah, that's December
Tena ulipigiwa
2018.
simu ingine.
Huh?
You've interviewed
Yes.
the Pope. You've interviewed the then deputy president. Now this is
I just come from paternity. It's a few days after firstborn Nashipai, love you, and so we're being called, and I had no choice. There was no one else. Everyone else had taken leave.
Yeah.
So the first time, the president is granting an interview to several journalists at the same time. Because usually at the end of the year, you'd find, he's granted this station an interview. So over time, people said, why are you just granting one station over the other?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the team at State House decided, let's give them a chance to all talk to you at the same time. And we land there in Mombasa, we meet over lunch, and we say, talking about the rules of engagement. And they say, you can talk about, ask anything, economy, crime, corruption, what have you, and these, you just have to give each other a chance to cover good ground.
Who's this now telling you guys?
Kanzadena,
okay.
the State House spokesperson then.
Okay.
And yes, so we were told we'll have all sit in a certain formation and everyone will have their chance to ask the questions. And as you prepare, because it was quite short notice, I make some few calls and I talk to people who I know have wealth of knowledge in one area or another. And that's how you prepare. You ask your colleagues, you do your reading, and you even ask people that you trust.
Yeah.
And granted, I got a really good insight in terms of what to pursue in this interview. And the president quoted the what's it called? He said, do you know the GDP of Japan? And I said, and it wasn't Madarao. Let me put it out there now to the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta. It was not out of, disrespect where I said, I'm not in Japan. I mean, I was in Mombasa, So I was just trying to go with the point of why are we so much in debt? He was trying to give the comparison of Japan, which would have been misleading because they borrow internally, and how they pay back or treat their debt is different from Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And let me be honest, also didn't know that particular rate in, you know, the GDP or...
So you also deflected.
In Japan, yes, at that time. Yeah. So you say, I'm not in Japan, but I knew the Kenyan one, which he tried to corner me with and ask me, speak like an economist. I'm like, hey, okay. So I told him the figure, and we continue. So, but people thought...
But he didn't take offense.
I don't think he did. But people did, or people took offense on his behalf.
Yeah.
Like, how dare he? Who does he think he is? Anyway, the other thing was the SGR contract, which he said he promised. You want it, my friend? I'll give it to you tomorrow. And even after we went off air, as we were saying hi, bye and say thank you, he said, yeah. Tomorrow you'll have it.
What are your contract? Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Tomorrow came, I guess, November of this year, because that's when the current minister...
It never came.
It never really came. It was one of the defining moments, because you get out there in terms of people saying, oh, who's that? And much as, yes, a lot more could have been done different in terms of the interview and follow through of questions, I really do stand by, how it went in terms of pushing for some answers from the leadership.
But how did you handle the attacks? Because there are those who are divided, there are those who are, it was a good interview,
in many ways,
the right question, there are those who are really, really...
So there are those who you listen to, and those are the seniors in the profession who mean well. There are those who are ready on the Twitterati and what have you to just, have you for dinner. But you look at the good critique. And I mean, at least at that time I had that show, Press Pass, on NTV, and it was in looking, and I even talked about it. And we talked about whether that was the best way of going about it. But granted, many felt he needed to answer some of the questions, especially on the SGR contract. And now the truth has come out in many ways in terms of the position that it has placed our country.
The reason I've asked you that is what I find unique and interesting about the Social Newsroom,
yes,
and this platform we have right now, is you have the opportunity to explain stories, or you can give reference to something and then have time and the latitude to say, okay, this is what I meant when I did this. Mm-hmm. The only challenge when you're on mainstream, you have no room to explain anything. You don't have space to give the backstory.
Yes.
So you take the heat, you take the abuse, the attacks and everything, you soldier on.
Yes.
To the few who know you just explain to them, or they even understand. But you have no room to respond to the attacks or explain, guys, it was not personal.
Yes.
I just, in that moment, and,
yes,
I remember something that Katuan Zile was my managing editor back in the days when I was working at KT, and I'll never forget a statement he made. He told me when I was starting out on TV, and he said, Dennis, before you go on TV, two things. One, you have to earn the respect of your peers and the audience. Meaning you have to be credible to the audience, whatever it is that you're doing. Two, he said you have to have the ability to think on your feet. Mm-hmm. Now, when you're live, for me, I don't know, those live things, for the interviews, anything can happen.
That's right.
So, in the heat of the moment, even in your response, because this is the president asking you a question, and you have to answer back. So, in that moment, whatever it is that was logical and reasonable to you is what you spoke. But again, people have no room to understand that, okay, that was not personal. It's
That's
not because you're against
and
the
other
president.
thing that you need to remember as a journalist, I think, is not to make the story about you.
Exactly.
Because, people will hype you online. Hey, when William say, hey, stuff to your SGR contract. It's not about me. And I kept reminding myself, and I believe you do so too in your line of work as an investigative journalist. And by the way, that work continues. My work as a journalist continues in a different form, and that is this being one of them, and yours as well. Let's wrap it up a bit now in terms of looking back and talk about COVID millionaires. That is one story that will be remembered for years. When did you do it? The context of it? How did it come to you? The information. Not, of course, letting us know your sources.
There's a lot to say about COVID millionaires, but I'll just say this. I've never talked about it, but it's one of those stories that I did with a lot of pressure. And I was joking and telling guys the other day, I actually didn't sleep for 3 days. And I only realized that I'd not slept for 3 days because I was surviving on energy drinks. So it's the caffeine. So I'm just in this adrenaline rush, and I didn't notice. It's the third day, which is now Sunday.
Yes.
So how I got the story is, so COVID hit the country. Before COVID, this is before 2020, 2019 December, I started hearing stories in China. It's just stories. January 2020, I'm not mention the name of this politician. I'm having a conversation with this politician, and he tells me, Dennis, why are you guys not reporting this thing of COVID? I'm like, COVID? No, it was coronavirus. But then it was COVID, coronavirus. I'm like, so what's happening? The guy is wearing a mask. So it was so awkward. Him and the wife, they're both wearing masks. Tuna drive Okari, they're wearing masks. So everywhere we were going, people are like, we only saw doctors wearing face masks.
Yes.
But this is a politician wearing a face mask. So me, I'm just laughing. I'm like, you're just too sensitive. You're just too careful. I'm thinking, like, what are you saying? He happened to have come from China. And the things he saw and the things he heard. And we know Chinese press, media there.
Yes.
So it's like, you guys need to take this thing seriously, because it's coming to Kenya. This is January. So we get to February. By the time March, we're announcing our first case.
Right.
This thing has been brewing. This thing has been brewing. But at that time, no one knows what to tell. You don't know what story. People are scared. People are so scared. So if this thing comes, what do we do? You're seeing images from China, what's happening there. People don't know, okay, so if this thing hits us, so at that point, you're not thinking as a journalist, you're on survival mode. You're thinking, okay, so if I end up doing this story, how do I protect myself? So later on, somebody calls. So this person calls and says, Dennis, there is a company that was given that actually was distributing PPEs. They had given out their papers and everything, and this is not the first time they've done it. They've done this so many other times. But there is something going on in Kemsa. Would you care to just investigate? I'm like, where do I even start? Of course, you can't make a phone call and get any documents.
Right.
So I say, let me sit down with this guy. So I sit down with the owner of this company. So he gives me documents. He shows me, so this is what happened. So all these things are medical stuff. So I'm trying to also, again, as a journalist, so you have to fit in to understand security. This is a health issue. You have to fit in. You're trying to understand all these jargons. You're trying to understand the systems, the processes, and all that. So the guy gives me the documents. I tell him, give me time to go through them. I go through them. I, of course, have to go through them with somebody else to just verify what's going on. So later, I started getting leads. Like, okay, so there were donations that were given, but kuna vile hizi vitu zimepotea. I'm like, how zinapotea aje? So I started getting more information. So it took me like a week or two to just put everything together. So it so happened that, the nation was also pursuing a story around the distribution of all this medical supplies to the counties.
Yes.
So I had a different story, but we felt, let's merge these two stories and see what you can do. So eventually, the paper, printed out their story. I was still working on mine. I was still doing interviews, because TV is a bit complicated. You have to get people talking. You have to get pictures. For print it's easy just to make a phone call and just write and give quotations, So eventually, I end up interviewing several guys. I get to understand this is what is a PPE, quality. So I'm beginning to understand, so what is being distributed to the doctors? It is this? It's like, yes, but this is what essentially is supposed to be distributed. So I'm thinking, Kenya is a scam. Like, how, in a pandemic, how can this happen?
Yeah,
so
people profiteering from people.
Exactly. So I'm outraged, and I'm thinking, how does someone in their own conscience think of people are dying? You don't even know whether you'll die yourself, but you're busy thinking where you'll make money. And at this time, I'm told people are walking into Kemsa, coming out with deals. I didn't have proof of that. But now eventually, I put together all these documents, put together different voices. Before doing the story, I got a phone call, because it's only two people who knew what this story was about. Only two people. It's me and someone else. Nobody else knew what was in the story. So I'm getting phone calls from politicians. I'm getting phone calls from other quarters. Like, Dennis, this story you're working on, when are you going to air this? I'm like, just relax. We're working on it. We run the promo on a Friday, the story is running on Sunday. So on Sunday, we are still editing. Saturday night, someone calls me and tells me, Dennis, why don't you run this story tonight? Because steaming is azimwa.
They might switch off
Yeah,
the
and
lights.
this is somebody
at
very,
Nation Center.
this is somebody very senior. Tells me, do this, run his story Leo, then tomorrow you can say it's a repeat. Because the conversations I'm hearing from where I'm coming from,
They'll go to
there is a
whatever
plan to
length.
see this thing shouldn't see
Air.
the light of day, shouldn't air. So I'm like, I'm under pressure. It can't air, it's not complete. So we are editing. And, you know, I thank God for Pauline, who's been editing most of my stories, Pauline
Shout out
Wakaba.
to Pauline.
She's the most brilliant video editor I think I've come across. Sacrificing like 2 nights, 3 nights, we are editing this thing. It was so much, there's so much pressure. So story airs. I'm rushing home to watch it on TV like everybody else. I get home, the first 5 minutes has already aired because we were editing to the last minute.
Right.
So I'm sitting down, I'm watching the whole story. My phone is on. Part 1 ends. What people don't know about the backstory is this. So I left Pauline editing part 1, it's already in the system. Part 2, sending it into the system.
Right.
Then there was a delay. The thing is hanging. I do me. Part 1 is already on air. So I started getting phone calls. Hey boss, kwani NTV mmekujiwa tukuje?
Someone come to
Somebody amekuja mezima servers ama what's going on? I'm like, I also don't know. So I'm calling Pauline. She's not picking my calls. I'm thinking, oh God damn it.
Umekujwa.
This thing has been sabotaged. This thing is not going on there. Kuna kitu tu imehang kwa system. So the anchor, Zainab, starts buying time. She's buying time, reading comments. You know what you do. We say, reading comments, so say this and this, buying time. Angoje kuambiwa na news director, ikitushengia ndani. Now, we can go into the second part of the story.
Right.
Finally, so I'm getting phone calls from even cops. They're calling like, tunangoja hii part, mbona imechelewa hivi sana, tunangoja hii kitu. So I'm also like, I'm so anxious.
Yeah.
I've not slept for 3 days. And I can't even tell you where my headspace was. There was so much going on. So I'm watching this thing for the first time. I'm like, wow, did I say that? I'm thinking, did I mention that name? Like later it's hitting me like this thing is big.
Yep.
So after the story airs, somebody calls me from the ESCC, tells me, Chief, there's a document you've seen uko nayo, na hapa ni kama hatuna. Tunaweza kuja tukutane naye kesho. Those kind of phone calls. Somebody else is calling me.
Anti-Corruption
like,
Commission doesn't have the evidence you have.
Yeah. So later somebody else calls me. This is somebody, a very high-ranking government official, calls me and tells me, Dennis, you have the guts to do this kind of story. I salute you, man. So I'm getting all these people, you know, the reactions, the responses, which are good, but
Are you fearful at this point?
I wasn't. At that point, I wasn't.
You're on high
So
on adrenaline
I'm
still.
so high. So later, my wife tells me, babe, you need to sleep. I'm like, I can't sleep. I need to take Piritons. I can't sleep. Later on, I can't remember what happened. I don't remember how I got to my bed. I blacked out. I seriously blacked out. So next day, I'm driving to work. I get an accident somewhere on Mombasa Road. I'm seeing this car is like following me. So I'm paranoid. I'm driving. I'm feeling there's a car following me. I call another cop friend of mine. I think I'm being followed. I don't know. Guy says, no, relax. Where drive to? Kawaida, relax.
You'll be good.
Yeah, you'll be good. So on the side, this car moves to the side. It's almost like trying to squeeze me into this lane, and there's a truck in front of me. I smash my side mirror and my window. So guys are coming out. My windows are up. So I'm like, so I tell this cop,
Someone is.
yeah, it has happened. What do I do? Do I come out? He's like, don't come out.
Drive.
Toka hapo mbio. So the truck driver is coming out like, okay, sasa unajua ndio nama. I didn't have time for that, whether it was me or it is him.
Sped
I
off.
drove off so fast.
And the other car that squeezed you in.
I didn't see it. So I get to work. So we're going through the motions. So everybody's now talking about this story. It's trending. It's all this. I'm getting phone calls. I told my boss, I need to take a break. There's just so much going on. I need to take a break. So at that point, that's when the reality hit me, because I'm like, oh, these people that you mentioned, this, da.
Yeah.
And then it's hitting me like, wow, what did I just do? But then, let me tell you my source of strength. My source of strength was, I'm a believer, if you stand on the truth will stand with you. So even if I'm gone, the fact that I told the truth is all that matters to me. It's not about me. The story is not me. It was about so many people who are dying of COVID, so many doctors who died, so many people who deserved better medical care around that time. And somebody decided, I'm going to profit from all this. So for me, I was like, no, this, As long as I have a voice and I have the story, I will tell it as it is.
How did it, in that moment, as we wind up, change your personal life? What did you have to do to secure yourself?
I may not go into the details
Not
of
the
how
details.
I did it.
Yes.
But there's a point, yes.
Fungua YouTube channel.
There's a point where...
Give the details there.
Yeah, there's a point, Nilienda safe house
Wow.
for some time. Just relaxing, thinking through a lot of these things. But later on, because there are so many phone calls again, I had to change my number, I had to change so many things.
Did you have to move address?
Yes, I had to.
Enough said. Enough said.
So how it changed me was, I realized later, because I was getting threats. And this is just subtle threat. It's somebody coming and saying, I was in a place, nikasikia, nikasikia. And you're like, this person labda ametumwa, or something else
Just to
going on.
drop a message.
Yeah. So what I got this realization, we are living at a time when there's a lot of intolerance on investigative journalism, to the point where even getting that support from newsrooms is so difficult.
Right.
And these are conversations I've even had with John Alan Namu, who's among the best
Respect to him.
investigative
Yep.
guys. I mean, really, really good guy. And we've had these discussions. You're thinking, there are not so many people who are willing to put funding or money because of commercial interests.
Yes.
So you're thinking, whatever it is that you're doing, the first thing I'm thinking is, who am I going to be mentioning? Which company am I going to be mentioning? What are the interests? So you're sort of restricted and limited. Secondly, is this intolerance. You saw what happened to the Pakistani journalist?
Yes.
Is that level of intolerance where somebody has the audacity to say, I will silence the messenger.
Right.
And that's where we are living.
With how the Kobe Millionaire story wound up, do you still feel it was worth it doing the story?
Oh, sure.
Because it seems like several have been, let off the hook.
There's the part of you as a journalist, you do your part. I'm not a police officer, I'm not a detective. I've done my part as a journalist.
Right.
And for me, I'm a firm believer. I do my job, the institutions will do theirs. So at that point, I've exposed this thing, heads were rolling. I mean, for months into the next year, this thing was, people are still talking about it. But I'm glad that there was, to some level, some institutional change. Whether there will be fruit or not is another matter altogether. But at least, the president actually promised and said in 21 days there's going to be a report. He demanded a full report.
Right.
Like your SGR contract.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the full report.
And that says a lot, but doesn't stop you being the investigative journalist that you are. And there's still stories to tell from those experiences, as well as follow-throughs that we can still do, even if we are out of an active newsroom. And I think that's what people need to look forward to in terms of moving forward in our careers. And again, hats off to people like John Allen Namu. I was about to call him my senior, but I believe we're age mates. But with his experience, he seems so senior because he had to leave, set up his own, enterprise in terms of operations. African Censored, and love it and appreciate the work that he does. Ashamwilu as well.
Oh, yeah.
And they've shown that it is possible to do it out of an active newsroom, of course, with getting a lot of support. And that's what we are setting up here. And the form and shape of it will be different. One time you'll be doing a story with people who've been conned, perhaps, and you'll be able to educate people on how to spot a con that is happening and perhaps even the recourse that they have. I could be having a conversation with even an everyday person. For instance, the lady who had gone for her pay from a restaurant owner or a lounge owner, I believe it's in Kitengela, and the guy just scoffed at her and said, "Do you know who I am? Like, I talked to the president," and because these things just catch, the headlines sometimes, and perhaps when it's trending, then that is when, it is in the news. But we still need to follow through. Talk to this lady, ask her, did you get the pay that you deserved? In fact, if she's watching this or anyone who knows her, we'd like to talk to her. The conversations don't have to be on and around just politicians. We will talk to them, we will hold them accountable, we will have conversations and follow-throughs, but it's not just them. And another question, for instance, is a lady that you interviewed, Patient Zero. And what happened on the interspace, in the Twitter space, in the WhatsApp space? What happened to that girl? If you remember that story briefly, in terms of how we need to balance what plays out on social media when we're telling a story.
you know,
Remind people who patient zero was, yeah.
you know, the thing about this space is, and I think this goes out to everyone who's watching, this is not our space. This is your space. This is an opportunity to tell your story because everyone has a story. So it's an opportunity then to reach out and say, this that's happening. So we are not stopping what we were doing, like you're saying.
Yep.
I'll continue doing those stories. We're going to look at just the ordinary people telling their stories because more often than not, you'll find their stories disappear into the cracks of, you know, the daily rush to cover politics, to cover business, to cover all these things. So these stories, somehow they just disappear. So the platform is ideally to just give you an opportunity to tell that story, what's happening in your village. It's not limited to the city, Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa. It could be Busia, it could be a village in Bungoma. Like I said earlier, anyone can actually report news. So it's a question of how then do you get it out? And I'm glad that this platform is going to give a voice to a lot of people who want to share their stories. There are people who are doing delightful things, impactful things out there. There are heroes out there. There are people who want something, for example, exposed. There's somebody who's been conned. We're going to give people these voices on these platforms. And there's no restriction. You know, the thing is, tell your story. The most important thing is giving you that opportunity to tell that story. So no restrictions, but obviously we'll have to stick to some rules and some guidelines.
No, there's some ethical code journalistically that we'll have to stick by, and even things that are palatable. I mean, unaweza nita kiparangoto, that's okay, that can go, but there's some territories that, you know, boundaries that we can't go beyond. And just as, because I really want you to share the experience with, I believe her name was Mercy, Patient Zero, and how that just went. The lady who was the first patient, COVID patient, and you got to interview her. And that just took a life of its own online. Because she spoke to people in mainstream and gave her story, and unfortunately people used it negatively and against her. And as you think about that, collect yourself. Mulama Isabella, you say this is gonna be bigger and better. Pauline Okisai, you say great job. Peter Moshiri, good work, and check the sound. Check 1 2 1 2. Thank you very much, Peter Moshiri. We will do just that. The team is listening, and we have a great team in the behind the scenes. If you can see one just behind the bald head of Okari's, he's right there making sure you get a good shot. Kuna jamaa kwenye mako. Dennis Fares, you say nice move. Vaunt Gudrin Goody, keep winning. Shege Ken, very impressive. Alicia Rose, keep up the good work. Alex D. Richman, very impressive. This is on Facebook. And Achi Baby, you say that's awesome. And Shanique Berik, nice move, keep going.
So interestingly, somebody here called Writers First, at Writers First. So what he has done is connected his laptop to his screen. So he's watching this on TV.
We're live on TV, baby.
So you're live on TV.
The Social Newsroom is on TV.
He's connecting this and saying, indeed, this is the future.
Great
Good
stuff.
progress, fellow scribes. The Social Newsroom is going to be a game changer.
Oh yeah.
Sema Box, great content, guys. Let's have more episodes of this. I can't stop watching. I can't stop this. Watching from London.
Hey.
So
thank you for
from
tuning in from London, bro.
Somebody says the mantle is rigged without Dennis.
Hey, poetic. We'll take some time as we digest that. Let me read something else as you also look at others. Mwanzia Nzavi, you say, Dear Dennis and Mark, when are you setting up the social media pages for your platform? This wave is greatest of all. Tuko njiani, we are continuing, and I'm telling you the truth. This is just a conversation starter of how things are going to be different. It is no less authoritative. We're going to give you facts. We're going to give you the news from around the country, and even many cases, those stories that are not making headlines. In fact, Dennis, something we need to tell people, we'll be having a good source with the Kenyan News Agency with time, and we are inviting as many other partners as we can as we move forward, because there are those who are interested in talking about various issues, security, for instance, social matters, leadership and governance, and they would want to partner with us moving forward. And we invite you, because in January moving forward, we will be getting on with this on a weekly basis.
So Kigali, Rwanda, they're also watching. Code King is watching from Kigali.
Mbona unaangalia tu international? Mimi napata tu za Kenya.
International wanatuma messages. Kajiado hakuna hapo.
Kajiado kaka lakini Esther Ngare, kazi safi, sijui kama uko Ongwaro ama wapi, lakini kazi safi umesema. Asante Viral TKE, great work. News Center, amazing, loving this. And yes, Christine Mungai, you say, I'm here. Thank you for tuning in. Lewis Menya, good job, awesome conversation. Akatu Jotham says, John Wangumba, awesome stories. I actually don't believe. Unaweza je tu unasoma tu international. Kwani
hizo ndo zinanikujia tu hapa.
Andikeni kama mko international. If you're in Europe, if you're in the United States, please just write that as I read it, please, because I mean, no less respect for our local audience, but you know, at least we are international. And let's be honest, digital space is, you know, limitless.
It breaks all the barriers.
Yes.
So it's not an issue of which channel is this, because anyone can watch. You can watch this in kwa choo, kwa bafu. So now, sijui kwa nini umeipeleka kule kwa choo, lakini I just want you to just that experience first of all. Of the young lady, and if she's watching, by the way, if you know, you could just speak to her. At MOH, right? Yes, at MOH, the first patient of COVID-19. So I think for once, nilipigiwa simu. You know the way you're saying paternity leave, yes. You are called to Cambodia, you're going to the Pope. So maybe this one I was called and I was told, so Dennis, you're going to go to Ministry of Health. The CS in Taikago is going to give an address. I'm thinking, this is going to be there. No more random thingy. So I'm thinking in my head, these are the questions I'm going to ask. Fellow Kenyans. Those you thought it was, you thought it was going to be those building ones. That you see here. So I thought this is just one of those ones. Yeah. So we get there, and then, true story, tumefika MOH at the reception. So it's me, and I can't remember who was my camera person, I'm sorry. So tumeshaingia tumekaa, so tunangoja tuambiwe. The CS at this time, tapanda kwa boardroom, fanya interview. The guy saw me there. There was panic. Investigative journalist Dennis Okari. So the guy came and said, so they called another reporter and said, wewe ungekuja? So this reporter calls me and tells me, nimepigiwa simu, kwani uko MOH? Because she was on leave. Yeah. Kwani uko, no, she was taking a day off. Uko MOH? Kasema, nimepigiwa simu na mdosi nikaambiwa go to MOH. Ati, manza amenipigia kiuliza mbona ni wewe tumetuma. So why this guy is scared? See, I'm just reporting like any other person. Yeah. Took a bit of time. Eventually they made a decision and said they only want the camera persons to enter. They didn't want me to go in. And I'm like, I called my boss. I said, boss, this is so unfair. Yeah. Like I'm so unwanted. Like what did I do? I'm just, okay. So I was like, you know what? Let me go back, send another reporter. Sorry. Happens to the best of us. Fungua wallet. Si wakati wa sadaka like yeah. So the guys there, they've said, Dennis is here, he can't go in. So no one else is going in, only camera persons. Then later, I don't know what happened. My boss called someone there and said, that's the only guy. Kawa yangu ndio inanikuwa baridi. I think tumeongea sana. You know the problem is we are paid to talk. Yeah. So, did you catch that? It's for the effect. So what was I saying? I've lost my boardroom. No, tuko boardroom. Wamekataa uingie wanataka yes. Reception. Wanataka cameraman aingie pekee. And so eventually my boss calls and says, you guys, you can't be unfair. Let Dennis go in. Yeah. I don't know what else he said, and they allowed me to go in. Gishira was my camera person, I remember. Yeah, Robert Gishira. Brilliant camera guy. Kabisa. So Gishira, so we go in. Then I realized I'm the only journalist. Gishira is the only camera person. Our link was going to be distributed to everyone else. So it's a boardroom. The CS is not there. It's just officials gathering in the boardroom. There's a big screen, like the ones that are behind us. It's got a big screen. You'll get a shot of this. Yeah, the so it's a big screen. Yeah. So I'm like, this is a conference video call or something. Only to be told, as Gishira is setting up the camera, that it's the president. So I'm thinking, whoa, this changes everything. The president is addressing, so what's going on? We didn't get the full brief. So Mutai Kagwe walks in. I see these two guys walking in. There's this young lady and this young guy walking in. They take their seats. The president comes on from State House and it starts talking about COVID, talking to these young guys. He's happy that they're finally healed, wamepona COVID and everything. That's when Gishira and I are looking at each other, whoa, these are the first
COVID patients.
Yes. And they're here.
Identified. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, this is such an exclusive. You know, a journalist who can go exclusive, unaingia uko na mwili yote kila kitu, like you want to like get everything. So their doctors were there, Amok, the DG was there, so many other guys were there. So I placed a request, can I interview them? The guy was not willing. I think he just didn't want to appear on TV and stuff. He was like, so I respected his space and I was like, it's fine. So for the lady was like, yeah, I can do an interview. So we talk, we're chatting. So what happened? She was flying into the country. So long story short, we are done with the interview, but I realized as she's talking, she's saying so many things. Then as we're talking, there's another doctor there. Ameweza kupigiwa simu. Other media houses now want her to
speak exclusively.
Yeah. So I just gave a piece of advice and I just said, it's not that I want to own this story, but I just feel, as I was talking to you, there's a way you can judge. I just told her, wherever you will go, make sure that what you've told me, because this is going on air tonight, make sure you've not changed your story. Get all your facts right. Because the moment you change something, people will eat you alive.
Yep.
Because at the time, people are thinking, these are people who've been paid by the government. At wamepona COVID. At that time, people are still very skeptical. So she decides to go to another station to do an interview, and it's live. Then there are things I think she said, and when people are watching my interview, which was pre-recorded, they're like, this story does not make any sense.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. On social media, people started now kumchambua. At the time, tukiwapo, she was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. You're the only one who's going to have my number, so exchange numbers. I told her, in case of anything, just give me a call. But take time, go recover. All attention will be on you. But I'll tell you something about the media. It can build you up, it can destroy you. So be careful. Go easy on this. Grant interviews, but make sure your story fits. Mm-hmm. So she goes, does this interview, and people start now poking holes into her story. Like there's something that's not making sense. And all of a sudden, people are talking about her. By morning, I'm looking at the trends. She's number one. I'm like, what happened? I call her, she's not picking. I tried 3 times, she's not picking. Finally, she calls back. She's crying. She's telling me, Dennis, why are people so evil? Mean. Why are people so mean to me? Why are people saying all these things? Now photos are, so people are now throwing photos of, I think when...
Don't know when and where.
People, things that are so irrelevant. People are now attacking her like mad dogs. So she's crying. I'm like, you know what? Don't read those things. Switch off. Don't go to social media. They will destroy you. Don't give them that opportunity. So don't read. Don't talk to anybody who will tell you, by the way you're trending, this is what people are saying. Shut off everything. Relax. Take your time. Be at peace. You're recovering. Whatever it is they say, you know your story.
Got you.
So later on, somebody was telling me, so she was saying, this thing is so bad. Why would people can even push someone to commit suicide? I'm like, no, let's not talk about that conversation.
We're not getting
talk about that.
Yeah.
Zima, usiende kwa social media. Just leave it.
So basically, this almost destroyed her. Her coming out to share her story.
No, it did destroy her.
It did destroy her. And wherever she is, I really hope that she got some help in terms of someone to talk to and heal from this in a very
I tried reaching out later just to clarify.
Right.
But I told her, change your phone number because people are calling her from everywhere. Bloggers, journalists, I said, change your number now that it's known. Get another different number. Go to people who love you. Go to your family. Go to your mother, your sisters, or your brother. Go to people who care about you and love you.
Yeah.
Stay away from these things.
Yeah. It can make you, it can break you. And let's be honest, Dennis, in many ways, we are looking to work on ways it can make us in this space. And you, the audience online on various platforms, as the conversation now continues from Sema Box. This is just a conversation starter. Many probably asking, sio utakuwa kivaa hivi, I don't like the shirt Mark has on. Maybe it's one political color or the other. Hey, we're taking ideas. If you're a designer and you'd like to do African print for us, I don't mind. We could try it. Heck, I remember when I was joining TV, I asked my recruiter then in early 2008, why don't we wear African design on set? I think he thought I was crazy, though he was a brilliant mind. And now they know we have our own set. We can try it.
Who put that pillow on your chest? So we're talking about something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it could probably work, you know, if we had, if
Maua,
the shirt
maua
was like
hivi.
this. No, not maua, just, I mean, but it probably works. We are open to ideas. That's what we're basically saying. The confines that you're probably used to in a usual bulletin, in a usual news piece, are not what would be here. And we're working with you. Sisi si wale wase, as many people would say, you know, when we were trying to do this, when we were putting out the promos, they were saying, you know, do this, waonyeshe, waonyeshe. We're not showing anyone anything. In fact, if what you are going to do as the people who consume the news online, you're going to tell us how to do it better. You're going to tell us how you'd like to consume your news better. Because people care about the news, as we're wrapping up. People care about the news. It's just that they have switched from where they had it presented to them and the form in which it was brought to.
And the idea is just reach out to us, talk to us, tell us what kind of stories do you want, how do you want it presented, how do you want it packaged, the what. This is like an open letter saying, okay, fill it up. What do you guys want? Who do you want to hear? What stories do you want to hear? It's about you. It's not about us. We're only going, like I said earlier, it's just a platform where we can share a lot of these stories and not name calling or bashing. And it's not about the negativity. It's also bringing out the positivities in us. But where things are going wrong, we will not also sit back. We'll say, something is going wrong somewhere. We'll bring people here to talk about some of those things where we can correct some wrongs. Just make sense of news and give it this analytical look so that it has meaning to you. Why should you care, you know, to watch us? Why should you care to listen to this person giving their story? And so that's what we want to do.
And we're open to all the partnerships as well. And we want to show you in a bit the shot of the rest of the team. There's about, you know, count to my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 who are around here. This is a room that they do magic in here at Sema Box. And they transform it to different conversations on different agendas and different, actually, on a daily basis, they have different conversations. And that is why Dennis Okari will be telling you how he is getting into, you know, farming, probably, if he chooses to open his other podcast on farming and channel on farming. I'll tell you how I'm getting solutions to grow hair. So, and yes, so Dennis, let's wrap it up here and tell you that the accounts that we can be working with is at Mark Masai, at Dennis Okari, and on Twitter and Facebook, as well as at Sema Box Africa for all the ideas that we would hope that they will give us, as well as the Social Newsroom. That is what we will be working with in terms of getting your feedback moving forward. We really appreciate those who have signed in and have been actually logged in because we've made the switch and now we have logged into a different conversation. And Brian Kipkirui says, great content, guys. Keep it up. Watching from Perth, Western Australia. How do you like that, Dennis?
Oh, finally.
Yeah, Brian
Australia.
Kipkirui from Perth, Western Australia.
Oh, and just to welcome the Facebook family. I mean, it's just incredible the number of people who are watching, the comments and everything. So karibu sana. Wale watu wa Facebook, the Social Newsroom on Facebook, they're also watching. And there's a digital expert, Francis Oidaka, says, this is such a great conversation about the pressures that investigative journalists face to avoid harming the commercial interest of the media outlets they work for. So you see already, this is like shedding light on what happens behind the scenes. And all people want is just give it to us raw, give it to us, you know, in a way that we will understand, but being truthful, you know.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're ready for that shot up there or the shot for the team, just to give us a look at who is behind the scenes making this happen. We didn't warn them. They're worried about whether they did the makeup right, but wako tu sawa, warembo kweli, kupendeza. And there's so many comments here that I haven't read all of them, and we'll go through them, and we're getting the feedback. Mohammed Salim says, try Ankara design. Wabe bro, I'll try it. Brian Sila, it was an awesome conversation. I loved it. Mwema Wambua, great conversation. Cherotich travels and inspirational stories, good news stories. And then Mercy Njiru says, I want to hear some success stories, not sad stories. This is someone talking about what change they would like to hear and see. Yes, Alison Kifoy, you say, all done, well done, all the best. Joe the Voice, good stuff. And Big Daddy Cool, hey, Big Daddy Cool. You say, Murungi also joining you guys from Perth. Oh, Big Daddy.
From where?
Perth. This is, I think, from Australia, bruv.
Oh.
Yeah. And John Anthony, well done, Mark and Dennis. Be blessed. India, from India.
That's my brother-in-law.
Oh.
Love from Kenya.
Love it, love it, love it. Catherine Wambiro, you say, great conversation there. Can't wait to hear more from you, from both of you. And there's a lot more that you can hear.
Yeah.
And Deno, for those who've missed this, it's going to be transformed into a podcast that they can tune in from our Sema Box platforms and consume it at their pleasure. Because, you know, Watu Hua, they don't tune in to, you know, the news at a certain time as they used to. They catch it when they want and when they have the time, and if they want, that is. And we certainly will be tuning into your taste.
And interestingly, there are journalists who say they want to partner with us.
Aposasa.
The journalists who say we just want to partner with you. Wairimo from Strathmore, congratulations, guys. This is really, really incredible. Someone else says, I would like to volunteer with you guys.
Well done.
In pushing this digital media out there. I'm a journalist by training. I've worked with several organizations, including Tusky Supermarket, Lead Communications Department, American Corner, Project of the US Embassy, and so many other things.
Kuna John Dimples amesema, tuned in from Kahawa West, sisi ndio tuko. Asante John Dimples, maze tunashukuru. You're tuning in from Kahawa West, from Australia, from India, from Kajiado, from Narok, wherever it is you are joining.
Oh my God.
From Isiolo, Susie, you say, from Isiolo, great and waiting for more. Eric Muhoro says, hey, look, I know 2 goats and now I know 2 more. How about that? Hey, I think I'll take that as a compliment. Greatest of all time. Goat. See, OJ Twambuzi, bro. Amesema goat, yani greatest of all time. They're appreciating us. I'm a Twitter greatest of all time.
Yeah. I know what goat means.
Simbuzi.
Najua. Niko nazo lakini. Hii Christmas kwanza.
Yes.
You know, interestingly, this is the first Christmas that I'm not going to be working. Like, over 10 years, you and I actually have been working throughout the Christmas shift.
Either Christmas or New Year. Yeah.
So nakula keki asubuhi kwa nyumba, ndio hiyo mbio kazini. But for the first time, yani unaweza lala, uamke, kula mbuzi, lala. You'll add some weight by January, I promise.
Kwa sema nimekonda, bro. This is the heaviest I've weighed all my life. I'm at 75 kgs and naona nikiongeza. Hapa Sema Box wamesema we fill the space. And we're going to fill
Mark,
it.
75 kgs.
75 kgs. This is not the topic of the discussion tonight, but we move on.
No, it's because I was there like 10 years ago.
Oh my goodness, I see this growth. So yes, again, let me just read out the platforms that you can send us your feedback on Twitter and Facebook at Mark Masai, Dennis Okari, and at Sema Box Africa, and at the Social Newsroom. And there's also Facebook, the Social Newsroom, the account that we have opened. And yes, our YouTubes will be up very soon. And yes, tuko na big screen, and then there's we have Twitter, crane ama Twitter, it's right up there, man. Right up there, right up there, right up there. Yeah, there's a shot up there. You can appreciate it's up there. Just look at the camera, bro. Yeah.
Mark, I can see. Come on, I can see.
No, we have to brag about the space that we're embracing right now. It's digital and it's
this is innovation.
And the team that has made this possible. Let's have a look at that, please, because there are people who are behind the scenes. Wamenyamaza, wamekuwa wakigiggle, wakichako.
And they've been working very hard behind the scenes the whole
very
week.
Hard, very hard.
Shooting the promos.
Ebu tuwaone. Kuna wale wako single, you know, there they are. Yes, kuna bachelor ako nyuma ya Deno hapo kwa hiyo shot anatafuta kweli. And there's a Rastaman right behind this camera where I'm at, and he's not going to show his face. There's a lovely lady on my right and a gentleman there on the left. People who put in hours, and we appreciate those who are volunteering to help us make this even bigger and better. It's a revolution, people.
Finally, I have my people.
From
Kisii.
From
Kisii Tupo. Somebody else. Great guys watching you live from Kisii. Getembe TV.
Getembe TV. Wewe kumaanisha nini?
At least we have something from
Hey,
Kisumu.
I think we have a vernacular name for station here on Sema.
Somebody called the African Creative, Locked Mbaya from United Arab Emirates.
Allah! Hey, there's someone
love
here.
from
Sir
across the
Brian
globe.
says Europe Kisumu. He's tuned in from Europe Kisumu. We
Which
appreciate
state in Kisumu?
Europe. Yes, just say Europe. And then Duta Masharia Kijabe is locked. That is my wife. Kama singesoma ingekuwa story ingine. Sofa set would have been bed. Yeah, you want to wrap this up? Dennis, you want to wrap this
You
up?
confused me. What was I think? I wanted to say something.
Yes,
No,
Facebook at the Social Newsroom. And yes, we want your comments and your feedback. That is my director there. If I don't take his directions, we don't have an episode in January. So please, let's cooperate. Send the comments for how we can make it better on Facebook, the Social Newsroom. That is the page. Write the comments there, what you felt we did right, what we felt we can do better, and what you're looking forward to in seeing your news brought to you different. And yes, I said Wayu Amuli, I did mention her at the very top. Sorry to throw your name there, but feel free to join us.
So on Facebook Live at 1,000 plus already.
1,000.
Yeah, 1,000 plus.
My goodness. Breaking.
Watching live from Kayole, Kanairo. They're my
Apple.
favorites. Kayole being represented. Congratulations from Dubai.
Amos Qatar, Eldoret locked in. Koi you say Qatar, tuko ndani na tunajua Argentina wanashinda hii kitu, but let's move on. This is not the midweek madness.
Okay, yes. DJ Ray Ken says, loving this revolution, blessing Irimo, congratulations. Jared Kipkemboi Ruto, the dynamic duo, God-fearing men with focus.
There you go.
Go boys. I'm
Bishang.
watching from Florida, USA, Sam Kioi.
Hey, okay.
Wairimo, watching from Baragoi.
Yes, we love it. You connect. The digital space has no boundaries. You join us when you are able to. And if it's not live, you will be able to catch this on our platforms at Semberbox, at Dennis Okari, at Mark Masai. Tuendelea kuzisoma kwa sababu I feel like we'll be locking this so many people out from the conversation. I love this. I'm very happy. I'm very happy.
Yeah. Christian Gitari says, kwani ni kesho? Keep up, guys. Good job. Watching from Nanyuki, Eunice Njoki, good job. We have crossed that other side with you already. Stephen, there's a guy, Stephen Leto, watching live from Israel.
Aye, bless you, my brother. Bless you. Pray for us. Stephen Leto, my friend. Nilisikia ukiitwa na president. So where's my friend Stephen Leto? Ako Israel. Anaomba.
Alienda kwa wall, the wailing wall. Anamlilia Mungu.
Aliitwa na president. Pana cheza.
Yeah, Geoffrey Kihore, I'll be reporting live for the Social Newsroom from my home county, Homa Bay.
I love it.
He's already saying he wants to represent Homa Bay.
In the episodes, we'll be tuning in with people who have been, in touch with one or two concerns that we'll be looking at from different parts of the country, from your home. The correspondents who would want to work with us from different parts of the country. Tuko hapa kufanya kazi nanyi.
Let's not lock some of this. Now that we're mentioning international, zimeanza kuongezeka. So,
All right.
Makogola Senior, watching from Tel Aviv, Israel. Huh?
All right, live from Doha. Good job, Social News from all the way up. David Bogwa. And, Jilo Hussein on transit from Lion Place. Simbali sana.
Nicholas Bitok watching from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Nice.
Congratulations from Mombasa. This is Faith Muikali. Watching from Saudia. Wallahi, views kibao. Hata kushinda za... Sasa shida mention station.
Hapana choma bwana, hapana choma. Sisi hatuna ubaya hapa. Tuko kazi.
Congratulations guys watching from Chuka. Margaret Sangani says, this was so long overdue, guys. I'm happy for you. This is what I want. This is what I told you to do. From Kasarani Keroka. Oh, Kisi, my God.
Matolo, you're watching in from Utawala. Asante sana. We should probably have this segment, and I'm sure sponsors would like to do that. For sponsors, Masalamu, because, people want to hear their names, and we'll be having it also, just under here, like the scroll here, that you'll be seeing your own comments in the next episodes. That is starting from Jan. Good things coming through in 2023. I manifest.
Yeah, and it's incredible. You remember how you're doing radio?
Yeah.
To Masalamu?
Oh,
It was so
you know,
relaxing, so free.
radio's my first love. I wanted to be Dr. Love, you know, start a nighttime show, talk to people on the concerns about love. And don't worry, Sema Box has said watanipea my time. I'm not saying I'm going to be Dr. Love. I'm just saying.
No, you know, for a moment I just pictured you on radio, a late night show.
Yeah.
And then this is Dr. Love.
Yeah. But you're not my target audience. Moving on swiftly for that show. I'm just saying. Yes, show iko hot. Calvin Jura and James Kalume tuned in from County 003. Na waona na mko sawa. And Jilo said, Mark, this is Kadida. I see you. This is Mwanzia Nzavi. You say, Mark, please let us have this on a daily. Please.
Sasa shida kuna siasa imeanza kuingia. But we are at 1.5 by the way watching.
Oh.
So Fred, okay, it says 2 brains. Azimio is happy. Sasa unaona sasa shida.
Sasa nilikwambia my orange t-shirt bwana. Shirt will have problems.
Yeah, this color is what? Which party was this color?
Yeah, by there blue was dominant. But anyway, moving on swiftly. Even the people of Azimio, opposition, whatever you may call it, we are open for discussions, all of you, because people were asking how did so-and-so lose and how did so-and-so win. We're here to tell the story. We're here to talk, and we love it. And we appreciate this revolution. And we are not the ones. There's a team behind this. And we are at 2,000 and, what is that? 2,000 and over. That is what my director That is what my director says. This conversation is about you and how we will change things in this country, in the region, and even internationally in bringing news to you. And I'm glad to be part of this with this great team that is here. And yes, I've been told to look at something here on the phone. Ebu angalia kama uko na international viewers, tafadhali Dennis.
So I have Lucky Low Bernard, gentlemen, count on our support. Itashika kushika. You have the content, iko nini, Moson Antipas.
Nimeambiwa to special request to talk about my first days on TV. In fact, we can make this as an episode, but I'll ntagusia.
No, I cannot feel. You
so
know
I am 75 kgs now. Imagine when I was starting off in 2008. I think I was 50 something going 60. Kipara ngoto proper. Ndevu haiko. And I remember that time, because I really tried to keep dreadlocks when I was in college. So I tried to keep an afro, but it was only going like this, not going higher. So I decided DMX was the in thing. So I shaved, and then I was keeping sideburns. Nimrod Tabu, who was, I was like his protege, like he helped me really get into the industry proper. Him, Julie Gishuru, many more. But Nimrod Tabu akasema, kaka, hii haiwezi.
Toyo mstari.
Wewe si DMX hapa. Hapa tuko DMX hapa ni habari. So ikabidi ninyoe bana. So I had like, you know, a semblance of a goatee or something.
Yeah.
So I couldn't fit, my suits were big, you know, couldn't really find a suit that's my size. So I was very afraid. And let me say this. Thank you for asking. We were coming in at a time when Masenia, Tom Boyer, Sophie Kenya, who's at the BBC, had just left. And so we were seen as people who'd come to replace them. And Effie Hunja had also just left. He'd left NTV, he'd gone to Citizen, and he was now in private practice. Effie Hunja, another mentor of mine, mad respect to you, kiparangoto kama mimi. And people were comparing me to them. Oh, our rookies ndo umeleta waka, wajaribu kukom, you know. And I'm like, for me, it actually, I was like, okay, hey, mina tafuta bwana. Mimi, this is where I'll find bread and butter. Let me find mine. It broke my partner, Smriti Vidyarthi. Love her. It broke her because it's things that people were saying. It's unfair. And let me be honest, it's also unfair to the young man who's taken the seat. And I won't say he's trying to replace me. Ibrahim Karanza, I'll say the name because I called him. Told him, young man, don't listen to what people tell you. This is your time. It's your chance. You are Ibrahim Karanza. I am Mark Masai. We'll never be the same. But this is your time. You have something to offer. Offer it. Give it your best. And I wish him all the best. Let's support him. But sasa sindo tuko hapa digital and tunasonga mbele. My first day was very intimidating, but tuli.
Was your first day reading news or how was your first day?
Mimi nilianza deep end mse. Yes. Kwani unashuku? Yes. Kizungu sikuanza jana. Bruv. started this back in the day.
Ilikuwa ni penny mbili, ni vile improve over time. Umekuwa na pop, kizungu ikapanda kidogo.
Yeah, so from day one, like we were launched on the primetime bulletin, not on the day bulletin.
You started in prime
with
time.
Smriti, and of course it gave me more courage.
How was it?
It was very intimidating, because of the pressure, people expecting. And I believe if I tried to do it, if I was doing it when we were live on social spaces, it would have been more difficult because those times you had SMS SMS opinion poll, they used to call it.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the printout of whatever people have sent.
Oh, yeah.
Squeezy kwapa. If kuna sukuma wiki kwa meno, Mark, what's your problem? Someone will take a picture, zoom in, and that's trending for all the wrong reasons. Hawatazami news, angalia sukuma wiki kwa meno. Like people are very, very vibrant these days. But it was intimidating, no less than on the first day in 2000.
Mine, I sweated, my friend. Nimevaa suti, nikitoa jacket hivi, shati, maji. Huku chini, nacheza na miguu hivi. It was so much pressure.
Kijana ya Kisii.
Yeah, I'm representing my village. The first one from my village.
Yes.
To do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm carrying the whole village.
Love it.
My whole community.
Yep.
And I'm doing this. But, you know, I really have to really thank my dad. He really supported me. And I said this. The first day I come to KTN, suti ya kwanza, alininunulia Tuskies. Unajua zile suti za Tuskies?
Shout out to Tuskies. You can sponsor a segment.
Yani,
yeah.
So, tukaenda naye shopping. Suti ya black na ya brown. Coffee brown. You know, shida hizo, okay, siko baya. Shida hizo suti ni moja. They're just regular fits.
Yeah.
So mimi nimeenda nimebuy suti, nimepima waist, sijui 32 waist or whatever, nimevaa, suti iko sawa. Until I walked into the newsroom. Nimejua nimedunga kiatu ni mpya ya bata. Nimeingia newsroom. Back then, Beatrice Marshall was the one who was in charge of anchors, you know.
Shout out to Beatrice.
So Beatrice couldn't tell me anything. Akaita Alimanzu, my very good friend.
Kaka.
Alimanzu. So I was reading 1 o'clock news. No. I remember I had 3 suits. A black suit, a coffee brown, and a silver suit.
Wait.
The problem with the silver suit, ilikuwa zile mshaino. Mimi, I don't, hata sina copy, you can't wear that suit mbele hizi camera. It reflect.
You can't wear it anywhere.
Anywhere. And then, mimi mweusi. Now imagine the darker version of me in a silver suit. Nilikuwa naambiwa akidenona kaule msewa dumu zas. You remember that commercial? So, I'm doing 1 o'clock news.
Yeah.
That's the first suit I'm wearing. Ni ma confidence na tie ya red. Nilikuwa naka preacher. Mimi na suit ya silver na tie ya red na shati ya white.
Oh, man.
The color clash. Then, so Beatrice couldn't tell me. Akaita Manzo akambia, Manzo, talk to your friend. Tell him the kind of suits we wear. So Manzo akaniambia, niaje, vipi bro? Kaka vipi? So Manzo told me, hizi suit umenunua wapi? So I told Mark, I told Manzo, nimenunua supermarket bana. Saa unajua ni zile suit zinaandikwa 3,999. Ukinunua mbili you get a discount. Hizo ndio niliona.
Wewe ukashine nayo.
Literally 1,400. Sasa, Beatrice said I can't go near with those suits. Manzo was told, peleka ukijana where we normally buy our suits.
Yeah.
So there was like a joint not too far from what is that? Jamia Mosque. There was like a shop there called Brands. So Manzo takes me to that shop. I'm like, boss, hizi ni zile duka si Peter tukaenda kula chipo. Tunaingia hapa ndani kununua suit. You know those places?
Yeah.
Hakunanga customer ndani. Na ukiona ni mmoja tu.
Yeah.
Like you never see people inside. So you walk inside and then I'm told chagua suti. I'm like, hii bill nani analipa? Wewe ni kampuni italipa. Wewe chagua suti.
Chagua.
So I select suits. I'm going. That's the first time I learned about fitting suits. Unajua hizo slim fits na fitting suits. Mimi na hiyo shamba yangu yote navaa suti yani umevaa suti kavaa vizuri. Unajua suti poa?
Yeah.
Suti ni 30,000.
Wait.
I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm saying, hizo ni suti ngapi za Tuskies? 30,000.
I see it in the blogs. Dennis Okari's first suit, 30,000 shillings.
You know, 30. Tai, elfu tatu. I'm like, what? Juu chini is like around 45,000. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was feeling like, man, Nishaf, I've represented my village, and Nishaf, this is it, man. Then I get to work, makeup. Now, the funny thing is, the first time I was given a list, I went to this shop, the late Mama Lucy Kibaki Elendanga. You remember that shop? Akasema shop ya cosmetics. So I go to the shop, natafuta hiyo list ya makeup. Nimeambiwa ni makeup ya MAC, sijui nini, sijui what shade, I have no clue what that is. So me I go with my list. In that shop is only women. So I'm the only guy. So I'm buying a brush. I'm asking this guy, so hii brush ndio inaitwa hivi, anaambia ndio hii. So all the women are looking at me like, this dude is buying makeup. He does. So me, I'm noticing they're looking at me very weirdly. Why is this guy buying makeup and like he knows what he's talking about? I'm looking at a list.
Yeah.
So the first time I'm putting on makeup, I had hair. All the stories I did,
breaking news,
I had
you
hair.
had hair.
I had hair, my friend. Nywele imefika mpaka hapa. Napaka makeup. Summer news. I was sweating, makeup inapotea yote. I had to repeat during commercial breaks.
Yeah.
I'm putting layers and layers and layers of makeup.
It's intimidating, to be honest. And even this, in many ways, even just before we started, I was a bit nervous, but the people at the Sema Box were kind enough wametununulia bajia and na kahawa. And I want to say thank you guys for, I hope it's going to be every episode. Oh, pia kulikuwa na kachumbari. Mnaweza ongeza kuku pia next time. But really, they helped me put myself at ease with the music that was playing. This is a great team, guys. And I'm telling you, the things that they're doing with what they have is magic. And you can only expect much, much more. We love the people who are, saying they want to partner with us and even be guests here to have conversations with them. There are rules, but restrictions are not as confining as we would have been in other spaces. So there's a lot more we can talk about.
So there's somebody here who's I think the comment in the Peter Mbimbio. I mean, it's like water in a easy comments ni mingi. So there's one I'll paraphrase. Guessing apart from giving us your highlights, what are your lowdowns?
So to save you for the next episode.
So we can save that for next time. We'll do another episode where we can talk about our low moments. In our career, we've had high moments.
Yep.
For me, in a summary, low moment when I went to Somalia. And that's the time, unakumbuka mama yako.
Yes.
The God of my mama.
I can imagine what you're saying, yeah.
I was like, I'm going to die here. I'll save that for another time.
We'll tell that story. And we'll even have the graphics, the pictures to remind you of the context of what we're talking about. Yes, Nanjinia Wamuswa. You say from January, look at the calendar and mark all the commemoration days and use it to bring in guests who are affected along that line. For instance, if it's World Water Day, discuss issues of water, etc. Nanjinia, thank you for that idea that you've sent us. And Jerry Kamau, loving this. Keep giving us more of this, guys. Wishing you the best. And oh yes, moving on swiftly, tell us your journey about journalism, which we've shared partly, but there's a lot to this story that we can give. James Kalume, I think I remember Dennis Okari. Was he Dennis Ndonga in Mombasa?
Oh yes. Who's that?
This is yes, James Kalume.
Oh my
This
God.
guy alikuwa anaitwa Rabidabidaba, alikuwa Dennis Ndonga kwenye radio station yako.
It was Dennis Donga.
Donga. Okay.
Well, they gave me the name. I moved from another station immediately to work in Mombasa. Man. My first time in Mombasa, I'm working for this station, Baraka FM. Mimi nifika Mombasa na suitcase ya suti. Lakini, shamba likingine mbaya. So it's my first time in Mombasa. Yeah, so nimepata job Mombasa.
Director, tunaweza endelea. Hii story inakaa kuenda. So, as we wrap it up.
So, nimepata job Mombasa. I've never been to Mombasa. Nilikuwa naangalia tu TV, naangalia ocean. So I'm like, one day. But then I'm working in Nairobi. So I go to Mombasa to work for the first time. Nimepanda coast bus. Hiyo usiku hakuna usingizi, excitement. Ni giza, lakini najaribu tu kuangalia nje. Hauoni kitu, lakini umejikaza. I'm just excited in the bus alone. Naenda Mombasa.
Yes.
Nafika asubuhi, kichwa inauma, the humidity. Then I had a leather jacket.
What?
And then nilikuwa na suitcases. So tukifika, this friend of mine, where I was going to stay before I looked for my own place, tukifungua suitcase, anaona suit. Ananiambia, Dennis, nabeba suti kwa nini kaka? Kaambia, sisi ni za kwenda kazi. Hapana, huko tuvai suti. Huko ni t-shirt na hizo suti ziko iva. So we get to this place. The next day was on a Sunday. Arrive on a Saturday. Next day is on a Sunday. The company is doing a trip to Wasini Island.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited. It's the first time I'm going to see the, what is it called? Ferry. So it's the first time naenda kuona ferry. So we drive, we get to the ferry. That thing is so big. So it's the first time I'm seeing the ferry. Me, I'm super excited like a little toy, eh? I'm seeing water. Like imagine mingi hivi. Imagine mingi. So to make cross ferry, we go to the other side. Sasa, time to nenda Wasini Island is like 2 hours. So we are in this boat, with one engine. This guy is barefoot. So tumeingia, we are like 20 people. So tumeenda. Mimi, the thing that scared me the most I'll never forget. So I was at the back. Sikia jamaa akienda, bahari imechafuka wewe, bahari imechafuka, vuka upande huu. So naruka. So we are trying to balance. The boat inagongana na waves. We are thinking, oh God, we'll capsize. Sijui kuswim.
Kijana gisi.
Sijui kuswim. So the 2 hours were like 2 years.
Oh,
and then we got to a place at now we have to go down, swim to aka island, tucheze na dolphins. Mimi niliwacha kwa boat peke yangu. Everybody else.
No way that's happening.
Sina hata costume. Sijui kuswim.
That was my welcome to. Anyway, these are stories that we could give into the night, and you know it's been 2 hours. Believe it or not, it's been 2 hours that we've been going on. Because at first we were like, hey, could we hack an hour? We have, and the form and shape of this, the social newsroom, will continue to improve as we continue, because you will tell us what you want us to do different in terms of the news that matters to you. And please, on Facebook, the Social Newsroom, that's where you drop, and even on our pages, at Mark Masai, at Dennis Okari, that's where you drop your comments and suggestions as how to improve it going forward. How do you want to consume your news different?
Speaking of which, Ken is asking, what are the social media pages?
Yes. That is at Mark Masai, at Dennis Okari, at Sema Box Africa, and at the Social Newsroom. That is on Twitter, that is on Facebook, and at the Social Newsroom is on YouTube as well. You will be, the Sema Box Africa is on YouTube as well. You can get us on that, and we will be transforming this into a podcast, and I believe we'll do it in 2 parts, because tumeendelea kweli 2 hours. We thought it would be 1 hour, but give them extra.
Yeah. So the guys were giving us ideas about telling the untold Kenyan stories. If we can do those documentaries. There's somebody else in Peter Araka. She was talking about doing stories about reproductive health and mental health and GBV. We need more of those stories. Best wishes, gentlemen. Olivia Queen tuned in from Kathonzweni.
Hapo sasa.
But can't hear well. It's raining a lot. Hapa ndio kunanyesha.
Hapa ndio kunanyesha ama ni Kathonzweni?
Kathonzweni ndio kunanyesha, so they can't hear.
But we thank God, Kathonzweni kuna mvua, wache inyeshe.
Funny Kenny, Kisi from Nyamira. Also, my people wameanza kuingia sasa kabisa.
Mombasa story, says Rose Onchari, is so interesting. Tunaweza pata pizza. Akiwa Dennis Donga. This has to be an episode that we can give separately on how we started and the situation that we found ourselves. In fact, ile siku, and this might make it to the blogs, ile siku nilikuwa na sign hivi to NTV. Nilikuwa na 1,000 bob. Mbele nyuma. 1,000.
When you signed your contract?
See God. See, 1,000. Mbele nyuma. Nilikuwa naishi na my friend Tony Were, somewhere. Ilikuwa Ngwaro your time. I think Ngware. 1,000, like this. And I also had the citizen contract in hand when I was signing to NTV. Story for another day.
Hata hiyo siku anajua.
Story for another day.
Okay, that's interesting.
Story for another day.
So nilikuwa na ngapi mimi? Mimi hiyo suti tu nakumbuka.
Suti, Moshaino. If you have the pictures, please, let's share it for the next episode on our beginnings. Our director and producer will tell us whether this is now time. And also the numbers that we have reached on the socials in terms of Facebook. You can shout it. His yesterday is very high, it's very high, it's very high. It's 4K live. Yeah. His sign language is bad. But we will get someone who can do the job better. Hey, we love the people behind the scenes who've sat through this and made this possible. And we love you, especially on the digital space, for making the Social Newsroom a revolution, a beginning of a new way of doing things in the news space. And we're glad to be part of this pioneering team.
So, Mark, I have to ask you. I mean, to be quite honest, I've admired how you've done your job in terms of Okari.
Come on.
I'll pamper you a bit. Utalipa, by the way.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you know, for the longest time, you know, just watching you doing news, and this is not just me, it's a lot of people that, you know, I've had conversations with who are shocked after this happened, is, you know, it's delightful, it's seamless, you just flow, it's just fluid, you know, how you connect, you know, all these things. And probably there's a journalist or there's somebody who's, you know, watching you and hearing all these stories. You guys are, you know, you're the GOATs, but how did you just get there? Yes, you only had 1,000 when you're signing your contract, but what is it that gave you that longevity to be the best when it comes to, you know, news presentation, when you're doing your interviews, just that journey for you? That's the first question. Second question is, how then later, in the later years have you, because when you started, no one really know you, but how do you handle new publicity?
No one knew.
People know you, you walk around with your bald head. Ilen Kiparaya Mark. Like, how do you handle that? You walk into places, people recognize you. I'm sure these are things and questions that you know, upcoming journalists and people in that space or who want to get into that space would just want to know, because there's always this fascination. You guys are celebrities, and I personally don't like that word, celebrity. I'll give reasons why, but for you, how was it like to get to that level where you're so comfortable in your element, presenting the news, you're so good at what you're doing? What were you doing?
Granted, I will give credit to, first of all, my mom, Mary Henderson White, who raised me very well and taught me good English. I think I embarrass her sometimes probably in how I speak it today, but there's her. So from a young age, you're used to the language. But second as well, my upbringing in a choir, which introduced me to a performing kind of atmosphere to an audience. Much as I like to say...
You're in a choir?
Yeah.
You were singing?
I was. Hey, manzi hapo nimegonga note ingine ya Kayole. Well. But Dana said I can tell you the truth. He is somewhere in the building. He can tell you we can sing. We used to sing. That is a story for another day. On my other podcast, on my YouTube channel. Yes, the performance on stage as a young boy prepared me for this. But also, around that time, God was really gracious in giving me people who did not believe my press releases. People like Goyo Dera. Who's my mentor, people like Effie Hunja, David Makuyu, who gave me my internship at Hope FM. In fact, internship yangu ya Hope FM, unajua aliniambia nifanye nini? Can you rap for me? Because he was like, so what do you do? What are you interested? I rap, nini, unajua. Nikwambia DMX.
So you were singing in the choir, you are a rapper?
Rapper.
What was your stage name?
The Mac. So that's quite a good name, by the way.
So to do radio, this show you're talking about, you wanted to call yourself the Love Doctor. But
Dr. Love.
Dr. Love.
Say it right, man. It's Dr. Love.
Dr. Love, not the Love Doctor.
Yeah.
Dr. Love.
But I could have gone.
Your rapping name was The Mac. Like Mac
Not
10.
Daddy, but the Mac. Anyway, this all prepared me for where I am.
Wait. So did you rap? That was the assignment.
There's a record out. And again, the same gentleman I've mentioned, Dana Seda, has a record, and I've paid him for silence. He is never releasing that rap single, which was a hit in our house. And yes, there's a song to that. There's a number to that.
You're rapping English or Swahili?
English, bruv. English. So anyway, this all prepared me, and people who guided me, even Nimrod Tabu, was very, keen to tell us, guys, you're walking into this space. It comes, the being in the public eye. By the way, it's not a big deal that we were laid off, Dennis. It's just that we are in the public eye, and many more people heard about it. Many people are fired almost every day, but people don't know. They continue with their lives. And there is life after wherever you are.
It's not that you're more important.
Yes,
It's a normal thing that happens everywhere. You embrace it with positivity. It's not the end of life. You know? Yeah.
And look, the possibilities are endless in the space that we are assuming here.
Exactly.
And I'm just grateful that we've had so much overwhelming support. And so, yes, how I got to this is just having people who were fortunate enough to push me in the right direction, people who were there to tell me the truth, critique me, and you also put in your work. learn from those who are the best in the game as well, and continue growing. And I'm here now, you're here now, we're in the digital space, we're finding our way, our digital footprint, so to call it, and we will be the best to do this. Best believe it, and we'll become better because of you.
The publicity.
Si kujichocha.
The publicity.
What's
How
that?
do you handle it?
It's not that bad, by the way. I think it's in your head. If you look at it as a duty and a task, what you do, and not like an entitlement. Unajua mimi ni nani? No, if you look at it as a duty and a task, which it is, I think your outlook will be different. You might notice one or two people see you, kumbe ni kadogo hivo. I'm sorry, I'm 75 kgs, it's the heaviest I've weighed, I'm trying to add. But, you know, people will always probably, one or two people will notice, but you go on with your life, yeah? Celebrities, in my view, really are different. Like, journalists aren't really celebrities. We celebrate what they do, and I salute what our colleagues in the industry are doing. And those who've even left the active newsroom and are doing bigger things out there. So, yeah, we're not celebrities.
Rod Aboki says, I used to really enjoy Press Pass.
Oh, thank you. Now, we brought, call it trespass. Right here.
Good one.
Thank you. No limits to what we can do here, Dennis. And I mean, what are you thinking of offering the people?
It's a lot. Like I said, I have so many projects. The personal things that I've been pursuing for many years, as you know. Right. Since 2016, I've been doing Forex trading and Forex mentorship. That's partly what I'm going to do this coming year, going all out big. Okay.
Watchman, I think, ndio ameingia. Anatuambia.
Anataka kututoa? Okay.
They also have rules here. Okay. Yes. So Forex.
So that's what I want to really pursue. The mentorship part and the trading part. Now I have a lot of time, but in terms of this space that we have is to continue what I've been doing. It's telling stories. We are storytellers.
If I'm gonna work,
Nimeangusha point, eh?
Yes,
I think I have to go rewatch this recording.
Yeah.
Points mingi mingi sana. We can even write a book after this.
Yeah,
you know?
There you go. I mean, you already have a book that's quoted you, but yeah.
Writing one. So the point here is, you know, when you think of investigative journalism, a lot of people think anything that has that underpinning is something to do with corruption, exposing social ills and whatnot. But that's not it. It's just one part of, you know, the bigger picture. So what we'll roll out a number of things. So we just want to keep it under wraps for January, because we're coming back January. We're really going big. We're going to do a lot of projects, but ideally it's going to be about you. It's going to be about ordinary people. It's going to be about giving them a platform to tell their stories, because where we're coming from, a lot of times you not have that time. You have 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Right.
Here we've been doing. We were actually supposed to do this for an hour. Now it's 2 hours, you know. So there's that space where we can be able to tell a lot of these stories that have impact. I love what people are suggesting, because we also want to hear what kind of stories, what kind of people, what kind of ideas do you have? How do you want us to make this better? Because we are not the custodians of all ideas. It's just opening the space up, because we are also getting into this. It's so new to us. But we love the challenge, but it's also about you and the stories you want to hear. So it's also about, you know, what surrounds their lives, what matters to their lives. I know people don't have jobs, issues of drought, food on the table. There are issues of innovation. There are a lot of young people doing incredible things. Innovation. There are a lot of people doing a lot of stuff on these digital platforms, apart from what we are doing. Is getting those kind of people to tell their stories and direct the attention to, look, this is somebody doing something incredible. And I'll give an example. There's a gentleman in Moranga who's producing electricity. This gentleman went to university, did his engineering course, and not so many people know his story. Actually, even on mainstream, his story was like, uko chini, you know? But this is somebody who's inspired a whole village. Alijaribu tu kutengeneza vile anaweza juu stima haijafika kwao, and it's expensive. So how can I generate power? Akona bulbs kwa nyumba. And sasa amekea shosho yake, amekea mama yake. You know those kind of stories, they really inspire. So it's also about inspiration. It's not just telling you, so-and-so did this. It's also about, how does this resonate with you? How does this inspire you? What are the things that are happening around us? And so many other stuff.
Those stories we want to tell. Kuna mtu hapa anasema, Mark can talk, kumbe walikuwa wamemfungia. We shall talk. A lot. But a lot of sense, a lot of entertainment in the same, breath. And it'll be worth your while. Oh, trust me. We are so excited about this. And Dennis, this will be many episodes to come. I'm looking forward to it.
We'll continue with our highlights.
Yes, sir.
Our low moments in our careers. We'll continue sharing this. And I feel this is impactful in the sense that there are those who are watching who are thinking, how's your journey been like? And you know, they think sometimes you're extraordinary beings.
Yep.
We're just normal people.
And tell us, you're the audience. If you were to think of a lady who would join us here, who's, someone in the digital space, a journalist, who would you have be in this seat?
Ikiti ni yake.
Yeah, tell
That's
us.
why iko empty.
Tuambie.
Yeah.
And we need some balance.
Yeah. So glad for so many people who are watching. We can't go through all the comments. The social newsroom, the space is opening up to something that is totally new, giving opportunities to so many people. I just look at Facebook, my God.
It's overwhelming. Let's just say that. It's just that we feel like ending it is stopping, the conversation for the first, but it's not, because in the digital space, this conversation continues. Again, at the Social Newsroom on Facebook, let us know what you would like us to do different and better from what is happening right now in terms of news being brought to you and how you'd want to consume it. And I believe we will have that in Etoaje, but here they do it different. I think they actually do it. Yeah, that's what they do. Please come and cut. Kuja tu, ama uifanye tu hapa. Si lazima wakuone. Ifanye tu hapa mbele ya kamera, Mr. Producer.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah, my name is Mark Masai and
I'm Dennis Okari. Again, welcome to the future. This is the Social Newsroom.
It's a wrap. Good night.